Welcome to Good Earners reviewing The Sopranos. Where here on Good Earners, we like to talk about family, finessing, finances, and feelings in the world of Tony Soprano, bringing you a new perspective, a fly perspective, and most importantly, a black perspective. Just understand that our bag never comes up short, and this podcast definitely earned this button. Spike Lou, Rich, what's going on with y'all?
What's happening, brother?
What's going on with you, brother? How you doing?
And I'm feeling like a made guy today. I'm feeling like a made man. You know what, Spike? Can you give us our synopsis, and I'm gonna throw the ball in your court, Rich? What episode reviewing today with Spike Lou?
Absolutely, man. This is season 3, episode 3 of The Sopranos, titled "The Fortunate Son." And in The Fortunate Son, Chris, he finally gets his stripes, and Paulie shows him the ropes on what being a made guy is all about. That causes Chris to pull a score with Jackie Jr. AJ shows some promise on the football field, and Tony is impressed. Janice takes her own measures to get her mom's records back, and Tony recalls a key memory that may be the root of his panic attacks. Again, this is episode 3 of season 3, titled "The Fortunate Son."
Thank you for that, Spike. We had alluded to over kind of the end of season 2, beginning of this season, about the original plot that happened before the unfortunate passing of Nancy Marchand. Rich is going to fill us in on some information that some of you that may be new watchers of the show may have not known, or some of you that may have been watchers but just didn't know this information. So, Rich, dropping on us, bro.
Yeah, man. So obviously the unfortunate demise of or passing, should I say, of Nancy Marchand led to some changes that David Simon had to make to the actual David Chase, excuse me, had to make to the actual script. So the original original season 3 storyline was supposed to center around the airline tickets, which we were brought to the attention of in season 2 with Tony and Livia trying to get Livia to testify against him. That was supposed to be some big deal, to the point where Tony was going to look at real jail time. That's how it was set up. However, since Nancy Marchand did pass, they had to rewrite the whole season. So you get the addition of a character like a Ralphie Cifaretto, which we all know in Sopranos lore, it's hard to imagine seasons 3 and beyond without Ralphie. You know what I mean? Especially coming off of Richie. I know we talked about it, Mo. You're not a big fan of the comparison, but it's that adversary, that in-house adversary to Tony Soprano. He plays such a big role. We see another character that we met last week, in Prashad. Was it
Prosha Lavushka?
Yeah, thank you. Named Eugene. We see him again this episode as well, as he is accompanying Chris on their journey. We'll get to it later. But that character, that actor, should I say, he was originally supposed to play Ralphie Cifaretto. He was listed as a series regular for season 3. And if you're a Sopranos fan, you know all about Eugene, and Eugene's story kind of doesn't take off until season 6. So you're thinking, like, why would he be a season regular in season 3? We don't need to get much about him. It's because he was supposed to originally play Ralphie Cifaretto. Once they realized that Nancy Marchand died, they wanted to get a well-known actor. Enter Joey Pantoliano, and he plays Ralphie, does an incredible job. Obviously, before Sopranos, people probably knew him as a captain from Bad Boys.
Yeah.
If you like this movie in the 80s that I really love called Midnight Run with Robert De Niro that he was in. Just obviously he was one of those character actors that you knew from back in the day. Just one of those guys you see and be like, oh, I recognize him. And Sopranos just added to his role and to his lore. So he ended up killing the role, obviously. Can't imagine Sopranos without him. But yeah, I thought it was really cool that Eugene was supposed to be Ralphie, because it was going to be a small minor role. And they're like, nah, if Ralphie going to be a big part, let's get a little bit more seasoned actor.
All right, man. Thank you, man. That's dope. And I'm glad they did that. Just sidebar before we get into the first thing. I'm just glad they did that, because I feel like that loud mouth character we hadn't had yet, and we already had Richie, which was like more of a quiet, silent killer kind of, and he's more of a loud mouth, So I just love that. Like, I'm so glad he played that, because I couldn't have seen the actor that plays Eugene being like that loud mouth. I mean, the approach would probably been totally different. So you're absolutely right. Shouts out to Joey Pants, man. We appreciate him and the things that we're going to get in our review. But we jump right in here. we jump right in here to the first scene. It's Chris, it's Adriana. They're having this conversation and they're going back and forth, and Adriana doesn't like the fact that he's getting called and he has to go in for something. And then we get the call, and at this point, we're finding out that something big is about to happen for Chris. What did y'all get from this little opening encounter between Aid and Christopher?
It's really what Chris has been waiting from the pilot to get his button, right?
Mm-hmm.
Waiting to get that phone call. I'm one of the people, in my personal life, I believe that you aren't, until you clear out the old, it's hard to prepare for the new. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, new stuff doesn't start happening and you don't get this full potential until you start clearing out some of your old habits. But you see Chris rolling up on his bullshit. You know what I mean? Not seeming like he mentally progresses. He's still in that same spot on the couch as we've seen in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he's still expecting the same thing. That's not to say, obviously, rolling up or anything like that is bad, but his mindset isn't like, I'm grinding. This is the only thing that's important to me. Now, he does mention the sports book, which he says is an important time. That's why he needs to answer the phone. But he immediately gets geeked. And then that little shadow of doubt that Adriana puts in his head, like, damn, like, you getting all excited like this makes me nervous. Obviously, everybody thinks about Goodfellas, walking in the room and getting whacked, to the point where Chris is starting to think it a little bit. He's been waiting for this call his whole life. And now, damn, why am I sitting in the front seat? We'll get to that in the next scene. But, we see Chris, man, he might be on his way to be a made guy.
Okay.
It's a big moment, man. We never saw this in Sopranos. We never seen anybody actually get the call.
This is huge. What about you, Spike? What did you gather from this?
I was able to watch this with fresh eyes with the information that Rich gave last week. How everything was how everything was kind of put in a blender because Livia died.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with this episode, like we were saying last week, this is when it really starts, like the Sopranos, the new era of it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the brilliant things that David Chase did, and one of the brilliant things that they did, was they made this initiation for Chris, and it kind of explains what we're doing here, because we never had this explanation before. These are the things that are expected of you as a made guy. This is why they carry it this way. You put this before your family. I love the way that, like, just the subtle things, even like what you said, Rich, him sitting on the couch, rolling up, still doing the same shit. However, we know he's been waiting on this call, so we can tell that time has passed. I love the subtle way that David Chase shows that time has passed, that people have grown. Even when, we'll talk about it later, when Paulie started talking about the type of money that Chris needs to bring in, that was probably unimaginable in the first 2 seasons. But I really like how this was a reset button. And you could tell they got caught with their pants down as far as surprise with Livia dying. So now they're like, okay, let's start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Let's tell everybody why we're here. Let's explain it very clearly in this initiation thing, and boom, go from there. I love it.
That's a great point, Spike. I'm looking at it. Now that you say that, I'm thinking about this from the standpoint of, what if this was a pilot episode? You know what I mean? This could serve as a pilot, and it is, like you said, it ushers in my opinion, I don't know if you brothers agree, this ushers in the way that those Sopranos that we all come to know and love.
Yeah.
Seasons 1 and 2 were incredible, but they were kind of their own thing, and this starts the start of something else.
Yes.
The scene we'll get to it. The scene with Jackie Jr., I feel like, is the Tony Soprano we know.
That's
the second version. Right. That's the birth of, okay, nigga. Come on, bro.
No,
absolutely.
I can't wait till we get there. And I don't want to blow the load on it, but that was the birth of Tony right there.
Yeah,
the tapping of the fork and shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the most YouTube. If I don't have time to sit down and watch an episode, and I'm just watching up certain, looking up certain scenes, that's one of the most searched YouTube scenes for me.
Oh yeah,
because it kind of explains that birth of Tony. Like, this is who I am,
nigga. I'm the fucking boss. I just had this conversation with Junior last week.
Yeah.
I'm on the streets. Remember how this set up? Like this, I think this showed everyone. And again, I love the initiation. And maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead, but the initiation was really good because it kind of shows, it gives context to everything about the first 2 seasons that people may not have known that much about mafia lifestyle. This shit come before your family. This shit come before your friend. All of that shit, like, ain't no friends no more. We all are part of this business. I come before your wife, nigga, if I'm Tony Soprano. And I don't think that's ever really fully explained until right here. We get the grasp of it as the audience.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fire. What both y'all are saying, because it does work that way. Like Rich told us last week, where he said they put out both episodes in the original airtime. They put out both episodes in the original night on that Sunday. So I look at it like an album intro. Everybody knows the intro. Some people do intros where they're about to rip it, like in hip hop, they're gonna rip it. And then some people just do an intro where it's some kind of interlude type thing. Normally that second track is the one where you're like, oh, they getting to it. And I look at like those two together is kind of like the intro to the new era, as Spike said. And then now this is like, okay, now the album is started. We're going. This is the first track. So I totally agree with y'all. This scene is a very interesting scene. It speaks to Adriana's obliviousness of thinking that he can call in sick, like with the mob, which is funny because a later scene it kind of operates that way. She just has a different understanding of what's going on. And even the this good news that's coming, she's excited like this is a promotion, and even him maybe to an extent, but they have no idea what they're about to get into. And so it's just a very interesting opening scene. But I was happy. I was happy to see him. You don't get a lot of these like happy, genuine moments. This man got a clean shave. This man, was getting like he was ready to get to it. So it was just a good opening scene.
I think, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong here. It speaks to how dumb Adriana is, though. Because Chris ain't the first gangster that she met. Like her family gangsters, like her uncle a gangster. And the comparison and why I call her dumb, we see how quickly Meadow has picked up on this. Like Meadow know what's going on. She may not know the details and the specifics, but she definitely knows what's going on. Adriana still be acting green as shit.
So yeah, Chris, he shaves and he's, she's happy for him, but she's worried. And I don't know if y'all spoke to what she was worried about. I didn't quite get what she was worried about. Oh, never mind. Which I was saying, like kind of like Goodfellas, like the surprise, like to pull up, you get
her being green. Like she was worried because she was green.
Okay,
in my opinion, like she didn't have a full understanding of what's going on, which is damn near unacceptable.
It is.
She got so many gangsters and shit in her family.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I think was very interesting was Adriana bringing up the fact that they can get out of there, get out of the apartment, kind of upgrade their lifestyle. And Chris telling her, you're putting in your notice today, the lady of a maid guy doesn't host. She's not a hostess, which leads, foreshadowing to something that's going to be hilarious. I think next episode.
Yeah.
Between her putting in her 2 weeks and Artie, we're not going to get too much into it, but hilarious moment.
That came that soon? That's this soon.
Oh yeah, this is like next episode.
Out. Dang,
nah. This is episode.
The next
4 or
episode,
5.
like, is a good employee, right?
Employee of the month.
The next episode is employee of the month. Yeah, shit.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. One of the next 2 episodes.
Don't even make me even start thinking about it.
Damn.
Anyway, go ahead, Rich.
Iconic episode.
No, that was it. Did we want to go into the? I know we kind of touched on it a little bit. Pause. The him getting made, the actual initiation scene.
This is what we were getting to. We were at him meeting Paul.
I jumped the gun. It was me. Yeah.
Okay,
I can
go
get
ahead,
us there. And if y'all see anything within now and there, we can. But there's a little bit more. But so we get to the next scene. Chris is picked up by Paulie and Seal. This whole ride is probably like an awkward ride. They're not giving them anything, and then before we know it, they make it to this basement of this place and they go through the maid process. They prick the finger, they bring out the candles, they light the card on fire, and they, go through their dissertation of these are the things we are over, your family, your wife, and Spike spoke about before. A question I wanted to ask y'all within this maid moment that is happening for Chris and Eugene. Are we supposed to believe Bobby Bacala is made?
Damn, it's funny that you have that because I had that wrote down too. I did my Google searches and wonder at this point what's he made. I got to get the Seal line out though. He sit on one ass cheek the whole way over.
Classic line. Oh man, I love that.
Chris was fresh too. I gotta give it to him. Chris was fly.
And Bobby was too though. Why you running up on him? Bobby had a nice tie on. But Bobby is an underrated guy in the world.
Well, but
Baccarat.
Bobby got that. But Bobby got that. He got on like the '90s church fit though. Like, because if you look at that tie, it's very busy. Chris got on that like Men's Warehouse joint, the navy blue with the cream colored tie. Like, it's a little different. You know what I mean? But Bobby was fine. Like he was cool. But what can somebody enlighten me? So was Bobby? We supposed to believe he's a made guy? Because it only seemed like made guys would be allowed to be down here, except for those that are, getting their button and crossing over.
No, it's definitely a made guy ceremony. You can't be on the outside looking in. However, I think with the uniqueness of Bobby's character, you remember he kind of just got dropped in on us at the beginning of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know much about him except for he's been established in other crews before we had a chance to get to know him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's difficult to imagine just because of his errand, or his role, pretty much running Junior's errands.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about it, in a sense, that is an important role. It might be a babysitter thing, but Junior is an important part of the family, even if he's not as important as he believes he is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of I can see it. I'm sure Bobby was at the ceremony before Chris. Like, Bobby's probably the freshest made guy in there, outside of Chris and Eugene.
But I think this is this may be one of those unanswered Soprano questions, but like, Bobby hadn't popped his cherry, so to speak. And that means
I literally was just reading.
Yeah, you know exactly. We know we in this. Like, he hasn't got a murder off, for those that don't know what I mean, cherry pop. And we'll find it out later down the road, but he hasn't actually whacked anybody. So it's hard to believe. Okay, go ahead.
Here's a reply to that. They still prefer to have guys make their bones, aka pop their cherry, but it's not a requirement. Even in the mob's heyday, there be years when only a handful of guys got whacked in all of New York by the mob. Sometimes there just isn't that much need to have people whacked. Since the late 90s, hardly anyone gets killed. The bosses of New York passed a rule that the families should only kill someone if they absolutely have to. So I think what we would have to suspend our belief to as viewers is that this is a new era of the mob, and a nigga like Bobby can be made.
Okay.
Just due to his dad's prestige working for Junior, some of the positions that he's held, the politics of it, he got moved up. Because you got to remember, his dad was a beast.
Yeah.
That's a great point. It's it's not too far off from, you think of like black fraternities and sororities.
Yeah.
You got a legacy member.
Legacy.
You know what I mean? You got somebody who, they dad was a part of this fraternity. They went to school here 30 years ago. He got a rep here. What you mean my son ain't about to be one either? I know it's a little bit different, but I think they probably take that into account. Like, we can't do old man Bacala like that. He vouching for him in a sense. Yeah. And I love how they, I think Paulie specifically says, if you got a problem, you come see him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He'll take care of it. These are the rules. This is the structure. This ain't the Wild West. I mean, taking care of your own business. We here for you to take care of all that.
Some of the comments are saying that Bobby was made before the series started. Bobby got made before Tony or Junior became bosses, so maybe it was under the Jackie or the old man before him era. So I think we're supposed to believe that Bobby was made when he was introduced.
Okay. Okay. This is a big deal. This is a huge deal, not only just for Christopher, but it's a huge deal for the mafia right now in the world of the Sopranos, because I'm still listening to, y'all go check it out, but I'm listening to Sammy the Bull, Our Thing podcast, and he's giving a lot of information, a lot of details about the mafia and his experience. So it's a lot of stuff there. But it's a very big deal, because you imagine, like, this is the new era, but this is in at the end, the concept that is introduced in the pilot of Sopranos. So the heyday of the mob is behind them. They're moving into the 90s, going into the 2000s. So it's like the how everything is super focused, and how people have all eyes on them. They're not low key in the Costa Nostra like they used to be. They're trying to be, but they're not necessarily like that in this era. So they don't really open up the books that often, because it's hard to build that trust. So the fact that they're doing this and even then, look at how small it is. They only have 2 guys. They only opening the book for 2 guys, Eugene and Christopher. So it's a huge deal. this is a huge deal, and so it's a great scene. And there was I forgot where I seen it, but there were some real life mafia guys that said that this was pretty close to like how they really do the services, like the maid service with bringing people in. They said it was really close.
You know what I think about every time I watch this scene, and if you're watching Sopranos for the first time, you won't think about this until you finish the series. But it always makes me think of Phil Leotardo.
Yeah, guys are not pricking their finger.
At the end of the series, like
their finger pricked anymore, man.
yeah, it always makes me think about Phil, like because he was when he was at his wit's end.
Disgusted.
Yeah, he was disgusted with them,
man.
Love Phil this pygmy thing, this pygmy thing in New Jersey.
Yeah. But I would also say
Carmine always said the Sopranos is nothing more than the glorified crew.
Yeah, just like us three, we're glorified crew. But this is also.
I can't wait till we see.
I can't wait. I love Phil. I don't know who I love more, him or Ralph, but I will say this is one of the low key most haunting scenes of Sopranos to me. Like when that crow hits that window, and Christopher looks at that crow, and the crow is there for the whole time until they finally are made and cross over. Then the crow is gone. That if that ain't the most haunting, one of the most haunting thing in Sopranos, bro. Like every time I see that scene, and even like how serious it is, ain't no jokes, ain't no laughing. They got that fire in their hand. Like this is not a game. This is not a play thing. And again, last season, Tony told him, he said, I'm gonna give you 15 minutes to make a decision. And since then, Chris has finally made his decision to stay focused, and even to this point of being made. So, yeah. Anything else y'all want to add to the ceremony before we go to the after party, so to speak?
What was the crow supposed to be deaf to you?
Like a bad omen. That's what Christopher labels as a bad omen. So it's like it's almost like, and I don't have by definition like what crows symbolize, but it's almost as if, and even Adriana kind of said, no, it's if they're flying inside, not outside, but it almost comes off to me, just my interpretation, seeing the crow is like, this wasn't really for you. You're going against the grain. Like the grain, you shouldn't have been a part of this. And you still went against your gut feeling. You always had ambitions to do other things, but your gut feeling, you didn't listen to it. And it's like the crow kind of confirmed that this is not the right move. And now it's too late. Now, when you look over, the crow is gone. So that was kind of like a warning sign almost to me.
I feel that. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially after you watch the series.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not now, but when you look back at Chris' story arc, but
yeah, Chris's fate. You're right. That makes
when you look back at that, it's kind of how.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We go over here to the after party, man. They had Vesuvios. They're clapping it up, man. They got the two women.
The song is hilarious.
The song is definitely hilarious.
Fucking hilarious. Shaking that ass.
no, they was ready for 2023's radio stations.
It's the most deadpan.
It is
redundant. Shaking that ass. Shaking that ass. Like what?
Man, they should have brought back Up in the Club. They should have brought that. They should have brought that back, man. I swear, when I see that, every time I hear Up in the Club, I just crack up when they use that. Well, Furio pulled up on Matthew Bevilacqua and them. Hey, hell yeah. But yeah, I guess they got the two women that get into it on a thing. They're having a drink, and Christopher's very excited. I don't know. Maybe y'all can help me on this. Is this something you like? Is this entertainment? Like you would eat and do this? I know some guys do this type of thing, but like, how y'all feel about it? Especially Paulie being like a germaphobe. Like, I don't know. It just seems kind of like.
You want to eat at the strip club?
Yeah, strip club, man.
Down here
that's why I was saying, like, I'm not
lemon pepper Lou.
Lemon pepper Lou. Wow.
Not Lou Williams. He talking about
Lou Williams. Yeah, Lou Williams.
That's basketball.
I forgot you don't watch sports, Mo. Yeah, that's a sports reference.
He had no clue what you was talking about.
I was like, Lou. Yeah. I am
back when the NBA had the bubble. Back when the NBA had the bubble down in Florida, Lou had to leave for some personal reasons. He got permission, but stopped at the strip club to get the wings.
Said he
and ended up getting caught and getting suspended and all this other stuff. And then everybody made the joke, like, the strip club wings are good if you worth getting suspension for it.
People say that.
And even
here, a lot of people don't know outside that that's a normal thing. Like the same way you would go to Popeyes or whatever, like, oh, let's just go to Magic City and get some wings.
Mm-hmm. It's a strip club down here in Atlanta. They got like a 5-star menu rating, I would say. Like it's top of the line shit.
I hear that all the time.
Like strippers are in there dancing and shit, but it's like real deal chefs in there. Like it's real top of the line meals and shit. So yeah, you can eat in the strip club.
Okay. But Paulie,
the bitches in there ain't dirty, so like you ain't gotta worry about that.
Hey,
hopefully the strip club that you're frequenting, you ain't got dirty bitches in there. So
sanitation is important. But Paulie pulls up to Christopher and they're having this moment, and it's just good moment, but it's funny because their interpretation of what this moment is different. Christopher's looking at Paulie like a big brother, almost like a big homie, his friend. He's like, man, I appreciate it, Paulie. He's like, sports books, you know what? I got you. That's your thing now. And he tells him like, hey, the only problem you got is you got to kick up to me. The only problem I got is I got to kick up to Tony. And so he tells him straight up, this is what you got to do. You got to do 10 points on your earn, and that's it. That's all you got to worry about. What was it?
Yep. 10 points, $6,000 minimum
a week.
Okay, $6,000, and that is like these guys are getting to it on rackets. Like I definitely don't make that by a week at my job. I'll be all the way real with you. Like, and there's nowhere near that. Like, I'm not even in corporate America, but like, bro, $6,000 a week, like you are putting in work, like this, because it's like these guys don't have real jobs, bro. So they're creating their own job, literally in real time, in their own system, in their own management. You kind of got to respect that a little bit,
It's like in sales when you got to develop territories, right? So you develop territories and you have to go work people in that area to generate a certain amount of revenue per month, because I got to make this much to make sure I'm good, and the company got to get this much. See, I understood the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
$6,000, like you said, though, they are getting to it though. $6,000 a week is a lot.
Oh yeah,
having to kick up, and that's just a kick up. That ain't your money. That's those are the taxes. Yeah. Like you got to pay. Those are just the taxes.
Yeah, out the WAP. So it's again the concept. I'm gonna beat y'all over the head if y'all listening, but like this, the being you wanting something else or liking the idea of things over the actual thing, like that's the human experience. Like that's why Sopranos is so relatable. It's the idea of something more than the thing. It's the idea, man. I'm gonna get the Rolls, or I'm gonna get the Bentley. You get it, then it's like, okay, that's cool. It was great for 3 months. I want something else. Or you get the crib. It's like, man, if I get this crib, I'm set. You move your stuff in. It's like, okay, this is cool. So it's like that is
for 3 months, and I'm tired of it.
That's what I'm saying. That's the human experience. That's why Sopranos is so relatable. You can't really turn your nose up and like, man, bro, you said you wanted this. No, because we all do this. So at this point, Chris is excited. He's ready to go to it, but we'll get a different sentiment down the road. I wanted to ask, what did y'all think about, because I got some words. What did y'all think about this Carmine and Tony interaction?
Why did you go?
It's a major setup for what we know about New York, but we don't know about New York as Sopranos, viewers at this point. And as we mentioned earlier, this kind of turns the page. This episode turns the page on the Sopranos world and how broad it actually is. So this is our first Carmine sighting. This is the first time we meet Carmine. And to have Johnny Sacks with him, so you can kind of see that hierarchy. And I forget which one of you brothers made the point in the last scene, but when you were talking about Bobby being made, just talking about how that's just a new era. This is a new wave of the mob. I think Carmine represents this in this conversation when he talks about there's no stigma anymore. How are the spells going openly? Think about what lengths Tony went to hide that from people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fact that got out almost got him killed. To now, one of the New York bosses is coming to you just saying, like, how is things going? We know about this. We know about your therapist. It's not as bad as what you think it is. I just want to check in and let you know it's cool. Like, we all know it ain't no thing. if I'm Tony, I understand what happened to privacy. Like, why the fuck are y'all discussing my business? You know, I don't appreciate New York being in Jersey business. And that's going to be a common theme that we see throughout The Sopranos. There's going to be a prominent New York character, you know, who plants ground in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And it obviously is going to make you wonder, like, what you doing over here? What's your purpose? What's your goal?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that prying around. There's certain questions you just don't ask. You know what I mean? And that's one of those ones where, you know, you kind of you saying it from a good place, but you also overstepping a little bit. Like, we talking about some business and some other shit. You up here talking about my therapist. Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. I ain't that comfortable with you, man. Give me some privacy.
Facts. And you looking at me like it's a weakness, even though you explaining it. My son had it and all this shit like that. In this world that we're in, things like that are perceived as a weakness. So you only bringing it up because you holding it over my head. You can seem as sincere as you want, but we know both what this is. And I like Tony's response to it. The other great thing about this scene that I love is introducing, like you guys said, the New York aspect of it. Earlier in the episode, I talked about the pivot that you guys mentioned that they had to do from Livia to where they were now. And this was a great pivot showing, hey, they're bigger crews, they're bigger bosses than Tony out here. Let's expand the world, go over to New York versus just New Jersey and have him dealing with his uncle and his mom as the villains. And let's introduce other people who are worthy adversaries, not just in his crew, but outside of his world. So I like the fact that, and like you said, his son, Johnny Sack. In our, like, before this moment, we thought Johnny Sack was a boss until we seen like, man, that's a goddamn phone. Like, we seen him get put in this place. So now as a viewer, we get to be like, oh, okay, now they bringing the big dogs in. So I really like this scene.
Yeah. And even if Carmine was genuine, even if he sincerely meant that, there's still a little bit of a that's not your place. A little bit of, it's almost,
I'm putting my dick on the table, like, bro, I know you're going through some bullshit.
There's a scene in later seasons where Johnny Sack is venting to Tony about something. And Tony tells him, you shouldn't be telling me that. Like, no, regardless of our friendship and how tight we are,
this ain't none of my
there's
business,
a certain law and a certain code that's still your family and that's y'all business.
Yeah.
Like, that you crossing the line right now, even though you know I'm not gonna say nothing by telling me and venting. You know what I mean? Even Tony had to remind him that. So there's always, going back to our last scene, when they break down to Chris and Eugene what this thing of ours is, there are codes and laws, and we get right away in this very next scene where they're kind of being teetered with.
That's really good. I'm calling Capricola on this whole scene is Cap. It's great for the Sopranos, but this is Cap. There is no way in Costa Nostra, and I don't know. No, and I don't know. We're not the mob experts. We're black guys. Obviously, we don't know anything about the mob. You know what I'm saying? So, but we're just talking about within the research, like most fans. There is no way a New York boss is going to sit there and have a conversation with you and say that that's okay. They're going to plot to cap you. It's not. There's no way you can talk to a therapist. I seen Michael Francis, who was a former mob member, one of the highest earners that has a YouTube at this point. He talked about his respect for the show, but he talked about that story alone. You in the mafia for real, you would have been killed. You can't talk to a therapist. I don't care what your emotions is, you can't do it. Which that's one of the reasons we love the show. But I think it works well when it's the New Jersey crew that knows. But when you brought the New York and bringing Carmine in to acknowledge that, I didn't like it because it felt very unrealistic to me. There's no way, in any kind of way, I feel Carmine or anybody in New York would be fine with that. I think if they kept it amongst Jersey, like, okay, this is the glorified crew. We only we know this. Kind of like we talked about Phil Leotardo talk about they don't even prick their finger. Yeah, because he don't really know what's going on fully with Jersey. The fact that they brought Carmine there to say that New York, that he knows that. For one, I got a question: who told them? Maybe it was Paulie. And two, there's just no way you will be cool about it. I just, that to me, I don't believe, it just felt very false to me as far as the universe of Sopranos. That felt really like, I don't think so. I don't think that's how it would work.
What would you say if someone said that is the way that they tried to show that this was what this premise of the show is about, as far as Tony coming in on the back end of things. So if you're in on the back end of things, you got an old school dude like Carmine who really, he don't give two fucks, bro. Like, he ain't got the moxie to be able to like go to war and kill a boss of a family over a psychiatrist. I think even in that conversation when he said it, he was like, bro, my son go to a psychiatrist. I think he was more so on the tip of like, bro, I'm old. Like, all of that stuff that you're talking about, Mo, is true, absolutely. But we're in a new age now, man. And he said it in that conversation, bro. I'm just looking to make money with the Soprano crew and continue to do that like we did for a long time. So what if it was just, I'm not trying to get into that. Like, I'm past that stage. Would
I
you
believe
be open to that being
that will make more sense, but I believe that they wrote it in that way. So what you're saying is what I believe the writer, I mean, I could be totally wrong. I don't have no inside information, but like, I feel like they wrote it that way. Like, oh, this is why they can get this off, because it is a new era. They're in at the end. These are the last days.
I think
of
that's
the
why they squeezed that in.
That's why they squeeze it in. But it's still,
if this was a documentary, then he would die. Absolutely. But
you see what I'm saying?
It's a TV show.
Yeah. And again, everything has to be 100% accurate. I'm not going to be the guy for that, because I love the therapy, but I just think it doesn't, that puzzle piece don't fit to me. I wish you would have almost been like, hey, take care of yourself. I know you've been passing out. I found out some stuff, but I wish she wouldn't have brought up the therapy part. That part just always felt like, it just don't fit to me, but it's not the end of the world. I just wanted to see what y'all thought about it. It just was it was an odd thing to me. Because then, like, Johnny Sack, like, I don't know if Johnny Sack knew he was in therapy. And I almost feel like Johnny Sack would have really been like, nah, bro. Like, no. Like, excuse me?
And he was just old, too. Like, Phil would have brought it to his door about this.
Oh, Phil.
Later on in the series. Yeah, like, Phil would, like, he's saying
guys are talking to therapists, dude.
Yeah, like this, I think it's just saying a lot about Carmine just being an old ass.
Because Carmine got a lot of compromise when it comes to earning. Like, you will see that with one of our characters. He has it like this. So I think that's a part.
Carmine just riding the wave until death, bro.
He just riding the wave, bro. Carmine, I'm here for the money. You hear me? Like, that's all I'm here for.
Y'all know what I'm thinking about, man. Y'all know what scene I'm thinking about when y'all talk about Carmine compromising for the bread.
Oh yeah. He like, did he's had sex with your wife? No, like, all right.
He did what?
That's all he care about, bro.
It's an expression.
Wait till we get to that, man.
I'm making a point.
Right, which is kind of like it may be like I always forget the boss we just spoke about of the five families. It was one of the bosses that was really not about like murdering people, but more about the money than anything. He was making so much money. Castellano. I feel like maybe there was Paul Castellano, maybe there was some inspiration from his character.
That's what Carmine was supposed to be, right?
That's what it seemed like because he like, I'm just about the money, like, and we'll see that. We'll get a scene later where he veto a lot of things because it's about money for me.
Yep.
So that might be some of the inspiration to his character. But
I think he was an inspiration to that character.
Okay, all right. We go to the next scene. Tony wakes up. He's got the robe on. Janice, I don't know what time of day this is, but it must be pretty early. Janice drinking a Coke 45, living her best life on Tony's couch.
Shout out to Billy D.
Hey, you saying I don't know what type of day this is a good point, because look, Tony in his robe.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be too goddamn late in the day, but at the same time, like you said, she's sitting on the couch like she been there for hours, nigga.
Yeah,
so is it in the middle of the afternoon?
Tony's in a robe. Tony's in a robe with coffee. She got chips, cold cuts, Coke 45.
Bro, she been hunkered in for a minute. So did she wake up at like 6 and started getting to it? Like, that's crazy.
Right, because Tony's sleep schedule it's not your normal sleep schedule. So sometimes he has late nights like an executive game or so you're right. That's the interesting thing. We have no idea what time of day it is for Tony. Like,
she got multiple cans, y'all. I'm looking. There's 3 beer cans on the table, man.
That speaks to I don't have nothing to do, bro. Like, I have nothing to do. I am good.
Shit, well, a nigga crack a beer at 12, bro.
Oh yeah, bro.
Goddamn thing.
You ain't got nothing to do.
That's part of her plan. That's part of Janice's. That's Janice's plan.
It's the brilliance of Janice. This is the brilliance of her.
Okay, go for it. Exactly, y'all go right there with it. That's exactly where I was going with it. Go right there. So what was her plan at this moment? Sitting, coasted, chilling on the couch at the Sopranos house. This
lady told me that you letting her stay at mom's house. All right, cool. you done flew me out here. You asked me to come. You begged me to see. This go all the way back to the phone call. This ain't even just on the couch.
Yeah.
Like Janice so cold. You begged me to come. Now that I'm here, I mean, why would you want me to leave? Of course, we gotta figure up mom's estate and do all these other things. And while we doing that, I'm gonna make it as inconvenient as possible for me to be in your space. In order to do that, and because I want to go to mom's house, I'm going to make it real inconvenient because Gal already told me that you said she could stay there. But now the best choice for you, Carmela, because I know she's going to be giving you shit if I'm sitting right here on the couch with all of this shit right here. Now it's, how do we get Janice out of here? She's not going back to Seattle. All right, we let her stay at mom's house. But Janice she's not directly saying any of this. I'm just going to be my regular annoying self and let y'all figure it out. That's the brilliance of her. And it works every time throughout this series with Tony. Every time she played a big sister card and know how he thinks, like she always get him, I think.
100%, man. Couldn't have said it any better. The fact that she intentionally is leaving this area looking crazy, you know, a mess, scattered. Like, look at this clean house, and then you just got this. Like, why do you even have? You got a box of Wheat Thins and 3 bags of chips and a cold cut. Like, why do you have all of this at once? You know what I mean? Like,
I would have lost my shit.
Like, you got 4 bags of chips open on the table right now, just chilling. Like, what are you doing?
That's a Soprano habit. We find out later.
I would have lost my shit, bro.
Yeah, man. But damn, like, get one at a time or pour them all in a bowl, man. Have some decency about yourself.
Man, have some decency.
Just straight disrespectful. This is a disrespectful setup. Like like you walk into this setup, like this is a disrespectful setup, bro. Like I don't got no respect for this house. Nobody in it. Nobody that's gonna say that to me. Like I'm just me. I'm doing me.
Yo,
because she knew Tony's gonna come down here and be like, "Oh hell no, she gotta go." I don't even care if it's I'll get Svetlana up out of there if that means that you ain't here.
I'll buy her a room.
Yeah, she knew that,
bro.
I'll break her off.
Whatever got to happen, Janice getting out of my shit,
bro. The fact that her fiance called Tony's number. I mean, obviously got it from when they called, but like,
I think
how did he sound? Oh yeah, he goes all night. Like, like Janice is just like Tony. Like people that have such a hate for Janice, she's just like Tony, bro. We just don't get to spend the same kind of time with her, so we don't get the nuance and the expansion of all of the emotions of Janice. So people hate her so much, but she's just like Tony. Like Tony, like there's a later scene with Artie where he talks to Tony and he says, "You knew if not all else fails, you can comp all this. You knew you can run up a tab, and you knew I wouldn't be able to pay this back. And at the end of the day, if nothing else, you got free meals.
You playing this.
So at the end of the day, Tony, that already saying you're going to get whatever you can get. So that's the same thing Janice does. Like she was with that young boy that probably was the same age as Meadow. And if nothing else, he can go all night. I'm good. Because
Janice to put that wop on him, boy, she probably did some shit he ain't never heard of.
And look at this. And she needed this because she needed this. Because who was she dealing with before?
Richie, right?
And Richie couldn't quite
for was light work compared to Richie. You know,
because Richie couldn't quite. He couldn't sell it. But now this young boy, he definitely sold it all night. So she made it happen. Like it. I mean, I just think it's amazing how Janice has no ties versus Tony's ties to the mob, and she could literally change her life at a moment's notice. Her fiance called, not boyfriend, not little fling, fiance. Like, and she just really like, I ain't going back. I might even sell his ring. Like like what? How did he sound? How did he sound? Look at his face now. Like, bro, look at his face now, bro. Like,
man, Janice is a dog, bro.
God, like,
she kicked that nigga. Like,
handle my light work.
They was finna get married, bro. And she was like, nah, fuck that. It's a house down here and some old records, nigga. I ain't going back. Like, Janice is a dog, man.
Worst type. She the worst type.
Bro, that's crazy. I'm good. No, I'm good.
The crazy thing about it, now that we talk about that, probably way back on the phone, she knew. Once I get on this plane, bro, I'm never coming back here.
Right.
Like I'm finna
Absolutely.
mom's dead. I'm gonna take the house.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna take the whip, and like all of this is mine.
Ah, man.
Sayonara, little buddy.
It makes you wonder what would have happened if she brought him there. If Tony said, "All right,
That
fine,"
would never gonna happen.
I almost it just makes me almost wonder like
He
what
just
would have
asked
happened.
about that because he was in the room.
Because I mean, she probably would have kept him around still, but she would have been playing him to the left. She just used him for the the all night joint. I don't know, but yeah, that's hilarious, dude.
Get to the nigga that Janice did bring around though.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious too. He's hilarious. Oh man, y'all probably like, man, what are y'all talking about? For those that are new listeners and watchers of Sopranos, they're like, I don't even know what y'all talking about. Don't worry about it. Y'all get there and then y'all can run this whole podcast back.
Classic.
There's gonna be a lot of that talk today, man, because there's so many characters we meet, and I just start laughing about certain things that we're gonna see in the future, man. Like this next scene with Benny. Like I started.
Yeah. So Christopher goes to the pizza parlor. Speaking of Benny, he's there and he's rolling with a young boy, Benny Fazio. He just got out of prison recently. We see Jackie Jr. and Dino over there, and Jackie Jr. basically says, without Tony Soprano, he's a zero with shoes. That is a crazy thing. We know they don't matter, but is that true though? Without Tony Soprano,
that's
he's
the overall perception of. I think that's the perception of somebody on. I think that generation. Okay. That generation doesn't look at Chris as somebody they want to be. They look at Chris as somebody like, if I was in that position, I can do that job better.
Doing this.
You know what I mean? I think when you got the younger guys, when Tony was Chris's age, I think they knew like, oh, Tony one of them ones, Jackie's one of them ones. You know what I mean? Okay. Pussy's one of those ones.
That's a good point.
I don't think they looked at Tony, Chris with that same respect. Like you're riding on Tony's coattails. Like,
is it the era too though?
Yeah, Jackie part of that asshole dipshit millennial area.
Think about what we see this episode. Like this is what we see this episode that Chris sees. Chris was above what he did later on. You know what I mean? Those are the type of decisions that Chris makes that makes people think that about. Like you're not even stepped up. Like you doing low level shit. You should have somebody you hired to do this shit and bring you your cut.
Yep, you ain't even figured this shit out yet.
Yeah,
still you moving up the ladder like you got this shit figured out. That was one of the biggest things that lingered over Chris throughout this whole series. Like you don't even have this shit figured out, nigga. You trying to write movies, you trying to do all this other bullshit, and I'm just asking you for $6,000 a week, which should be nothing to a made guy with the pool that you have with our family, and you out here fucking robbing colleges. Like, come on, bro. Like Jackie got the right to look at him like that.
Yeah, Jackie should never have access to be doing a score with Chris like that after you just got made.
Yes, this speaks.
And that should be off the table.
Yeah,
facts.
And the fact that it's happening lets me know what type of person
he was talking about. Yeah, Jackie Jr. Slick knew what he was talking about. Like bro, my dad was made. Like he was that nigga. I know you. I know a fraud when I see one.
Yeah. I think. Be honest, bro. I'm. It's hot take. We know Jackie dumb, but. Honestly, if Jackie had a Tony Soprano in his life that was like grooming him, because he's not that far off from Chris, if we'd be honest. Like people would be like, oh, hey, Jackie. So yeah, but he didn't have nobody to kind of groom him. Chris, we go back to season 1 of Chris. Chris shot somebody in a you know what I mean, like a donut spot. Just because dude looked at him like, you weak, you soft, bro. Like I don't respect you at all. I can put anybody in front of you and get their order out before you, a regular civilian. So we look at Jackie, he's not really that much different from Chris. He just don't have the backing or the connection like Chris. So a lot of people wouldn't say that, but I would say that. It's like the problem was
Picking wrong horse. The nigga was fucking with Richie and he was fucking with what's my man name that you like more in this season?
Oh, Ralphie.
Okay. Ralphie, yeah. Ralphie and Richie was his mentors. Like he was only
I was just about to say, Mo, look at the title of this episode, man.
Oh, I can't wait to get. There's a big tie-in that I think
I mean. The Fortunate Son. That point you just made is 100%.
Yeah, but it's so in his bloodline, and I think that is probably one of the biggest misunderstandings. And it almost brings the focus in because it's like, could Jackie have been better than Chris because he really wanted to do this, and Chris didn't.
Chris
really
said it. He's the heir apparent.
Yeah, and then Chris maybe really didn't want to do this. it almost makes you say, I mean, again, Jackie, we know he's not that intelligent, but I think Chris got groomed much later down in the series where Chris was in his bag. He fully accepted what was going on, and it worked for him for a while, but that's later down the road, and I know y'all want us to focus on this episode, but what did y'all get from this scene? This pizza parlor, this is kind of representative of like a low level thing. He's kind of like the person that made it to the league. He's kind of like showing up and they're like, oh, Chris, but he's like, I can't be spotted in something like this. And Jackie Jr. is just so angry. He smacks this dude's pizza like, I know where you live. Dino comes up with the play, and Jackie says it was his idea. What do y'all get anything else from this pizza parlor scene?
Chris is just above. Like I said, he's realizing that this old world, this old life that I was a part of, I can't do that anymore. But he spends the whole episode in that space. Like I said earlier, man, if you want something new, you got to get rid of the old things, and he's still taking care of those old habits. Also, just to set up the play, man, between what we're gonna see later on in this episode. But yeah, man, Tony. I mean, Chris is. He's trying to get his rep around, but he's getting the reaction that he might not be expecting.
Is this the first time we seen Benny?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the first time we saw Benny.
What do y'all think? What do y'all think about that? Like, we just find out they just throw. I mean, they did that last episode, but they just throw us Benny Fazio, and we just found out he basically just got out of prison. It seems like Benny. I don't know if he's a made guy, but I definitely don't think he's made because there's no way he would be made before Chris. Like, there's no way. But he's basically.
I think it shows again. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just Chris's new young boy, like how he had with the very Matthew
subtle, the very subtle ways that they show growth in this series. I really appreciate because it shows like it ain't a Brennan type character, right?
Yeah,
there's not someone who thinks that they're on the same level as Chris. It's someone who's clearly there because Chris is a made guy. Just like Tony got a driver and he got Furio and other people under him, it shows that Chris is climbing up the ladder. This dude just got out. Okay, cool. We're going to put you with Chris. You're going to drive him around. You're going to make sure he's protected and all of these things of that nature. So I love the subtle growth that it shows with his character being added. And we get some great stuff from him later, too.
Yeah, great stuff. They didn't even. I mean,
best storylines in this.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it. I'm like, hey, I mean, shouts out to Benny.
I really enjoyed Benny, man. I enjoyed Benny's journey, bro.
I do too.
I love how these ancillary characters we don't know them from anything, end up having some great moments in Sopranos history. Like Benny he has a standout moment with Artie. I talked about Chris and Artie earlier, man. Benny has a moment that's just hilarious.
It's so funny.
And when you rewatch it, you instantly laugh because you remember.
Yeah, like every time I see Benny, I'm like, hey, man, Benny a funny dude.
Because it's so petty.
Wait to the Benny scene.
It's so petty. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
But it's real good.
It's real good, though. It's like, why are you two battling for real? Like, what is this? It's like crazy. It's funny, though. I love it, man. The Sopranos, man, we talk about it's all kind of shows. But yeah, so I mean, he got Benny with him, but I do like this Dino guy. I liked him here. I thought, I mean, he
just came off like another version of the nigga that got killed in the tub.
Matthew Bevilacqua. But I mean, he may have came off like that.
Tub?
Not the tub. You talking about like Brendan?
I'm talking about.
I ain't gonna say Brendan.
He comes off as.
Yeah, Brendan was like mad, like a druggy, like just thirsty. I felt like
this dude just like this. This dude just
but
like we sit right here and we put up a whole score together. Like me and you finna get paid off of this. And just because Chris is this nigga that you think is made and you look at in this highlight, you wouldn't gave him all the beans to our little score that we had. Like, and he's a groupie.
Yeah, I mean, but I need to, but you need to be connected though, right? You trying to get on a journey of success.
I need to get my money. I need to get my bread up to be in that circle in the first place. So we can do these little hits just like Tony. That's why people thought that Tony was that dude as we get the stories of him robbing card games and whatever it may be. It wasn't never, I'm trying to get the connections. I'm going to get my bread up and get the leverage to be where motherfuckers got to fuck with me.
I feel like you still got to know somebody. Somebody got to because the mob talks. We see they gossip.
They already know him though. That's my point. That he know Benny. He know like if I'm making moves and if I'm getting my weight up out here, people that know me gonna know.
But he don't know Dino though. Like he probably know Jackie Jr., but he don't know Dino. Like Dino, like, bro, look, I got to get mine. Like they know you because they know your father, but they don't know me, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I get it though, but
That
I don't
mean
know.
I gotta incorporate niggas in my deals though.
I
need
get
to make
that
my
too.
money alone.
Not my
so
first
y'all
one.
respect
Not
me.
my first joint. Like yeah, I get that. We could have let it marinate a
Y'all
little bit.
need to respect that I get money, not that I'm bringing you in on these money situations. Like I ain't doing that. I ain't sharing the pie before I'm eating like y'all.
It could have worked in his favor if Jackie wasn't involved, I think. But it kind of backfired. We see later. But like it could have worked if it was Dino and Chris only. It would have. It probably would have been. He probably would have been his other young boy with Benny. But we get Melfi and Tony. It's just always good to see Melfi back. I feel like it's just so. It felt watching it the first time. I felt like we were always with Melfi and Tony. But as we've been watching it this way, it feel like it's a little spread out a little bit. So I'm enjoying it a lot more. It's a breath of fresh air. But Tony shoots it straight. You know, what are you going to do to fix my problem? Because some friends of mine in New York, they know what's going on. I'm here, and quite frankly, it's a blow to my self-esteem. Now he didn't say that word for word or nothing, but like that's kind of the sentiment that I was getting. But Melfi tells him like straight up, like, look, bro, you want to be healed, you want to be cured. We got to go deeper, dude. You're still giving me this surface level stuff. You still didn't want to deal with the things of your mom when she died. You didn't want to deal with certain things. Rich, what did you think about this conversation? Obviously, there's some funny moments here. That's going to keep in these funny moments. But what did you think about this conversation about Melfi trying to get Tony on the right track as far as if you want to get out of here, then this is the route we need to take?
She's understanding that this isn't. She probably has a little bit of that feeling herself. You know what I mean? Like we saw her last season struggling with treating Tony, and why she is continuing to do so, and why there hasn't been any kind of progress. There's a lot of times where I think Melfi throws out ideas, but she doesn't want them to happen either way. Like she wants to continue with the therapy. I think she does have some fascination, but she did bring up the idea of seeing a specialist. Let's see if you're ready to take on those next steps, knowing full well, in my opinion, that Tony wasn't going to go for it.
Big fact.
You know what I mean? You still have issues and still have these reservations about coming to see me. So I know you're not going to a behavioral therapist, which lets her know that all of this is talk. You know what I mean? No matter what you say, you're still going to come back to this office and you're still going to start doing the same thing. And that's when they're like, all right, fine. I think that was her way of maybe pressuring him to like, help me help you. Like, come in here and really start getting deep about some shit. And we see this episode, they have a major breakthrough because he takes that approach. So I think it was a little bit strategic, and it was a win-win for her. Either you are going to see somebody, and I have no choice but to let go of this toxic relationship that I built with you, or you are going to commit, and I can really treat you and get down to the nitty-gritty of what's going on.
Dope.
And shout out to the buckwheat reference too.
Don't just, we ain't gonna shout out. We gonna talk about
it. Not shout out, but you know what I'm saying. Hey, like, Tony,
I had a conversation with
like, man, this motherfucker wild.
I had a conversation with buckwheat. This Tony is so freaking buckwheat, bro. Buckwheat.
So matter of factly, man.
Just even if you call a black man buck. You could just say buck, and that's crazy. Like Tony is a wild boy, man.
But look, so nonchalantly, he didn't even have to search for that word. That was right there on, like, nigga. This is what I call niggas on the regular. Buckwheat, nigga. Why am I even talking to you? But Rich brought up a good point, and I thought it was a great job by Melfi showing how much of a master that she is in her field. Immediately when Tony come in there talking about results and these and like trying to put his foot down, what Dr. Melfi does is, okay, the people who are getting results, these are the things that they're doing. They're taking these 3-step processes, and she's explaining that to them, almost approaching him like, are you willing to do this? Because you ain't been willing to do this, coming in here talking to me over the past however long we've been dealing with each other. So she does a masterful job in kind of walking him off the ledge, and I got to start seeing results now. Because she lets him know, like, bro, you're not doing anything to get results. Like, you're just coming in here bullshitting with me once a week.
What do y'all think about him answering phone calls and sessions now? This is like a new development. Like, what does that speak to? I mean, obviously,
to what I think that's a brilliant part of how she phrased it. that adds to what she's saying. Like, bro, you're in here taking phone calls. You got busy seasons. It's shit that you can't tell me about because you're in the mob. Like, we halfway doing this shit.
Mm.
And as long as we halfway doing this shit, you're still going to get the same results that you've been getting.
And it also, Spike always likes to mention this, just showing how each season, each episode almost shows how Tony's leveling up. I don't know if any of the listeners out there or even one of you have watched Entourage on HBO.
Oh yeah, I've watched that. Yeah.
But yeah, all of Ari's therapy scenes, that was always a point of contention. Like Ari's phone would go off in these sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this like, do I answer it or not? Like when you the man, when you are that guy, like there's nobody to call above me. Like I'm the one everybody's trying to reach.
The one to make the decisions.
Yeah, he made a scene like, you know, if you want to do all this thing, if you want to have the house and the maid and all that, like I got to take a call on a Wednesday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Like simple as that.
You want these therapy sessions paid for it, and I got to answer this goddamn phone.
Yeah, he even said that. Yeah, if you want to go to group therapy, then cool. I'll leave my phone down on the ground. If you want to live in the valley, then that's cool. Like straight up. But if we're gonna maintain this lifestyle, then there's got to be some compromise. I'm here because I want to get better.
Yeah,
I might not be able to fully see your side of it as to how I need to fully be present. 90% present is fully present to me. And that's kind of the rub with some of these powerful people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the rub. Like they can't, because even if they don't answer their phone, Tony's all he's going to think about is what that missed phone call was and how much money that could have cost.
What's happening? Right.
Mm.
What's happening?
What's going on that I'm missing out on because I'm here trying to get my shit right.
Yep.
Mm. And that gives even more fuel to New York almost. It gives more fuel to New York. It gives more fuel to any of the guys that feel some kind of way about me being in therapy because he gave everybody an opportunity to speak up. Nobody spoke up.
I can't even get in touch with you, Nick.
Exactly. So then when it's coming to find out, bro, we can't even get in. And you know, people talk. Like in the mob, they definitely talking. Like we still don't even know how New York knows. Like we have no idea how New York knows he's in therapy. Is it Junior?
Later.
Is it?
We get an idea later.
Okay, that's why I was.
We definitely get an idea later.
Okay,
we have a solid idea of who it was.
Well, based on that, do you think that's what we're to believe, or?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this has been a long build towards.
And I think the brilliant part of that is like what you're saying. As viewers, we sit here and wonder, like, well, damn, how do they know that? And then they drop the breadcrumbs. They drop the breadcrumbs to eventually we see, oh, this is the nigga that they've been talking to the whole goddamn time. It's where they get all the information from.
You know what? Because we think about it. It was only 3 people in the room when Tony spoke about it. Paulie, Chris, and Silvio.
Yep.
We know Sil is a lockbox. We know Chris ain't that connected. And we'll leave it there. So it's really dope.
I remember when you used to wait in the car.
And maybe you should go back there.
Maybe you should go back there.
Bro, all right.
Someone talking? Is someone talking?
Someone talking? Anybody hear that?
Do I hear anything?
Right. Well, I guess Junior's another person that knows. I forgot Junior knows too. And then Mikey Palmisa.
Oh man.
So, but Junior's not gonna go over there. Only person he could find with was Livia. So but yeah, okay, I like it. They definitely, I do think they overemphasize this. This is my busy season, but it's funny that football season is starting by the time y'all hear this. So, the first week of football
makes sense,
will have
like
started.
You just don't get down with this. This is real life.
Well, no. I'm thinking the
it.
overemphasizing of this is my busiest season in the episode. Not saying like knocking football or sports, just the overemphasizing in this. Like I feel like I'm like, okay, y'all running to the mill a little bit too many times on the this is my busiest season. Let me tell Carmelo, it's my busiest season. Let me tell
that's their best way to make money. And speaking of that, Mo, we do have an ad from the Sopranos Sportsbook. Don't waste your time on FanDuel or any other of those betting sites, man. Get the real, authentic gambling experience with the Sopranos Sportsbook. Well, if you don't pay, you're going to pay.
What was that last line?
I heard what your...
The last line was, if you don't pay, you're going to pay.
Oh, wow.
With the Sopranos Sportsbook.
I need the contract details.
Online now. Go download the app, the Sopranos Sportsbook. It's in the App Store.
Go get that.
I heard with your first deposit of $50 or more, you get a free $20 coupon to set your house.
Oh, need it. Dude. I need it.
Yeah, man. So
are we doing two for
man? Right in time for your.
We're not doing
I don't know
twofers
about
yet.
the twofers, man.
We're not doing the twofers yet. We're not doing twofers yet. All right. Well, thank you for that ass fight. But we get a quick little short scene. Chris finds out that the spread was supposed to be by 12, I guess. And the guy tells him basically like, dude, their kicker, they're in the 45. So dude's in field goal range. So it seems like they're still going to lose, but they're not going to lose by the margin that he bet on. So Chris obviously loses money. The dude says, man, I told you, man, when Paulie was here, do you see Paulie here? And, you know, we see what it is. Anything I get from this just little sports betting scene before we get to the barbecue joint?
Who is this black dude? that was telling him
I've seen him in a few things, bro.
I was telling Chris this.
Yeah, he one of the officers in The Wire.
Okay. That's where I know him from.
Yeah.
It surely is. He was arguing with Bunk about one of the bodies, right? Fuck Bunk. Okay, I do remember.
Yeah, the whole Omar situation.
It surely is him. That's the fuck Bunk dude. Okay, I was wondering where the fuck I knew him from. Got you.
Come on, man. The shows, man. It's all a big something, or it's all a big nothing. Either it has meaning or it has.
It does go to show. It does go to show. Obviously, with sports betting now in 2023 and maybe a few years prior in certain states that has become legal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you're not familiar with sports betting and gambling, running your own bookie site or on your own bookie network, how much work goes into that, what you're responsible for doing. And there is no kind of law for it. It's really all about honor and trust. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no app. Like, if I
place a bet, that person got to keep record of it. You lose, you win. You got to pay, or they gonna come see you. Like it still is shit. It's still a big business outside the apps. People still do that.
Yeah, and he tells them like staying off some of the action because he was like, man, the spread was 12. Like this guy got to, if it gets close, this guy is an All-American kicker. Letting him know like, hey, some of these requests, some of these calls, man, let's just shut that whole thing down. You know what I mean? Because it could go the other way. But Chris is being greedy because he's looking, this is my racket now. I'm setting the tone.
Mm-hmm.
This is my main, source of income. You know what I mean? Right. And bit off more than he could chew. But how much precision goes into that? And Paulie would have known that's a veteran move. Chris is learning the ropes.
Paulie spoke in season 1 when he was trying to find out about Big P being a rat and Big P going through physical therapy. And he spoke about the physical therapist that was helping P was helping also like an NFL athlete. So that's a great tie-in as far as Paulie kind of having an understanding. It speaks to also that Christopher is not that detail-oriented. He doesn't quite do the work. He does just enough to get by. Because when he finds out this information, like, why didn't nobody tell me? No. You're a made guy running the sports, but why didn't you know? Because
it's your money.
Because Chris has that problem. Like he doesn't like to do a lot. He don't like to really work. And when he sees Tony and when he sees Paulie, he sees people, they just kicking it, they're having drinks, they at the bada bing with the ladies and they looking, but you don't see these dudes are really putting in work behind the scenes. You see the rappers, you see them in the videos with the bottles, the whip and everything, but you don't see they in the studio for 8 hours. You don't see the work, and that's Chris's problem. You like the idea, but you don't like the actual process. It's the regularness is your problem.
That's him. That's him throughout this whole series.
Yeah.
Like you just not doing the correct things that you're supposed to do, especially with the perceived talent that you have, like the potential that everybody thought that Chris had. The work ethic you put great mode is never there. It never adds up to the talent that most people see in him, which is that's his whole character in a nutshell.
Yeah, man. In The Last Dance, man, covering Michael Jordan and the Bulls, he tells his teammates at the beginning of one of the seasons, man, it starts with hard work, ends with champagne. Chris sees the champagne, but he never sees the hard work. Like there's certain things that he doesn't even know what to look for that Tony can do. Not Tony, but excuse me, Paulie could do in his sleep. Paulie could probably tell you that the starting left tackle just broke up with his girlfriend. He been going through it, having benders every single night. Bet this part because he going, you know what I'm saying? All this other stuff, all those small details that's going to make him a big profit in the end. Chris doesn't think that far. He doesn't think that ahead. Like, all right, I'm just going to take the money and hope for the best. Like, nah, you got to put some effort into this, bro.
And it goes to show, too, one of the problems that Chris had throughout this thing was his drug use. Like, Paulie, we know, straight as a whistle. He don't use drugs, anything like that.
He don't write nothing down.
Your point that you just to the point that you just had, Rich. I got people calling me all the time with vital information. I can't be rolling up. I can't be high off heroin. I can't be sloppy drunk because at any point in time of the day, I got shit that can make me thousands of dollars on the phone what people are calling me about. And Chris never really made it to that level.
And it's I want to use another tie-in. My second favorite movie of all time, White Man Can't Jump. Billy Hoyle, Sidney Dean, they had a conversation, and he says, I know you, Sidney. You like to look good first, win second. He said, I like to win first, look good second. And then Sidney said, I like to look good and win. Chris's problem is that he wants to look good and win second. You care about I don't have to overemphasize. I get it. It's the idea, like I said, but it just brought that to my mind.
White Man Can't Jump, your second favorite movie of all time?
Yeah, that was my first for a long time, but then I kept watching Training Day, and then the way it grabs me every time, I was like, dang, this got to be my favorite because I'm so locked in. I'm looking at all theories. I'm
black man, white man dynamic.
I guess so. That's weird. I never put that together. That's
interesting.
Wow, you picked that up pretty quick. I didn't even think about that, bro. I'm trying to see. You can't do that because I get all the way off kilter and my mind goes into a whole. That's crazy. All right, hold on. I'll revisit that.
What he's not telling y'all is he means the new one. This is his favorite, not the original.
Don't do that. Why you do that?
I fucking hope not. The new one wasn't bad though.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm on my way. I'm gonna be real. I'm on my way. I'm gonna check it out. It wasn't
bad. I promise you.
I believe it. I have no expectations.
You may not be impressed. You may not be impressed, but you won't be mad.
Okay,
that's how I felt about House Party. I ain't gonna hold you.
That's why I said I'm gonna get there with House Party. Now that the hype has died down,
be mad.
Okay,
yeah,
facts.
Because I wasn't mad.
If they called it something else besides
House Party.
They called it something else besides House Party. I think it would have been a much better success.
I 100%.
Because I'll be honest,
the expectations weren't there.
And I know y'all probably like, well, what are y'all all over? But we'll get back to it. But like, I wasn't that mad at Space Jam. I didn't like it better than the original, but I wasn't mad at it, honestly. For these kids, I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, it hit their target audience.
Yeah, it hit their target. I was like, I'm not mad at y'all. Like, I ain't got no hate for
what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, it did what it was supposed to. But anyway, we get this barbecue scene, and this speaks volumes to the relationship of Tony and Christopher. Where Chris, he still doesn't have the concept of they broke it down in the maid ceremony. He told him, if you have a problem, you come to me. And so what Chris does, he's still riding this uncle-nephew wave. He tells him it's a minor setback coming to Tony when he was actually supposed to talk to Paulie. So, and Tony, Tony's not giving him anything because Tony knows, there's a proper protocol that this is supposed to go. So he's just kind of like, oh, yeah, you got a minor setback. Oh, okay. And then we see that AJ pulls up and we see that Ralph Cifaretto's there. And he's like, hey, watch your language in front of my son. As if he hasn't
crazy in front of my son. Nigga.
All right, like as if he hasn't said some bad stuff, but it's that selective rules. Like I can say it, but you can't. But yeah,
I think that was a good little jab though to show us that Tony don't fuck with Ralph.
Hey,
I don't really fuck with you, my nigga. Like that's something you do with brown people, like brother. Like that's a call out that you make when you don't like somebody and you ain't got nothing else to say, and you saw them fuck up and make the mistake. Like you said, Mo, even though you do it in front of your son, nigga, you can't.
Yeah,
I ain't nigga. Don't talk like that in front of my son.
I don't like that type of talk.
Cussing him out.
It's like a nigga. It's like a nigga laughing too hard at a joke that was made about you. Like, hold on, man.
Hold on, you laughing kind of hard,
what
bro.
You laughing at? Why you laughing?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't wave your hanky at me. But that's a great pull, Spike. Like, I don't rock with you like that, bro. I really don't like you for real. I tolerate you, but I don't like you.
I don't even know why you here, Slick. I don't even know why you over my house right now, bro.
Because of Rosalie.
It's Rosalie. You out here with me?
Yeah, if you wasn't, with Rosalie, they always get in by dating the people close.
Boy, because I did this out of respect for the mother. You know what I'm saying? And it's a funny thing. Tony, Chris. We talk about Ralphie's dynamic as far as him being like a nemesis. That we ain't got there yet, but like Ralphie been a nemesis to Tony. But we also get like. Chris tells Tony's like, hey, you ought to flip that sausage over. It speaks to this concept that
Jesus.
It is. I mean, I'm talking barbecue here, but I mean brat. Would that be better? Flip this brat. Like I don't know. Like
that
Broad
almost
no
sound
better,
worse.
bro.
Broad is
almost
crazy.
sound worse.
What's wrong
Flip
with
this
We
broad
can't
is
flip
insane.
this broad.
Jesus Christ. Hey, flip this broad for me. Oh,
Yo,
Jesus
flip this broad.
Christ. Hey, yo.
We can't even
Hey,
say regular
yo.
food products. That's hilarious. What is wrong with us? Like, flip this broad. Like, oh man, that's
Flip
hilarious.
this broad is insane.
Oh shit.
Broad is not a
Holy.
bratwurst. Would that help? Flip this bratwurst.
Nah, you making it worse, man. Mo, you making it worse, bro.
Let's leave it
All
alone.
right, we gonna move on. Flip this bratwurst. It's crazy.
Oh, shit, man. God.
Oh my gosh, bro!
Oh,
It's always one moment like this every episode now, but
that was
but it's a funny
That
thing
was
because
fun right there.
yeah.
Jeez.
But season 6, Tony does the same thing to Christopher when he's grilling. So I thought that was a very little. I don't know if y'all remember that scene. And they were drinking beer, but it wasn't necessarily the same kind of beer. But it was the same thing about, hey, yo, you know, this piece on the grill or
I
whatever.
tell you
flip
what,
it.
too.
Yeah.
If you grill, a nigga coming up to you at your house, telling you how to cook, bro, you got me fucked all the way up.
Now I tell you, like, hey,
Go
bro.
inside, watch the game, go fix you a plate.
Mhm.
But bro, I'm cooking. Like I don't need you standing over my shoulder telling me when to flip shit. None of that. Yeah, it's totally disrespectful.
Yeah,
Straight up.
Don't play like that, bro. Watch your mouth.
Yeah, like, come on, bro.
Yeah, man. We go
One
inside.
thing that I really did like from that scene, though.
Yeah.
Real quick, one thing I did like from that is the fact that Chris is telling him like it's just a minor setback.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, I mean, Tony gives him that look, almost the same look he gives Davey. Like, oh, okay, just a minor setback, huh? Like he knows where this can go.
Mm-hmm.
And like, let me tell you right now, there are no get it fixed quick because there are no exceptions. Like you're gonna have to pay this debt.
Oh,
so you better work it out.
I'm gonna tax you. And we'll find that out later. We get this scene on the inside where we see Carmela's family. I guess it's a Sunday dinner, but they're kind of doing it kind of big on the Sunday dinner. And we find out some information about Ralph, which I think is something to keep in mind. We find out that Ralph lost his father at 6 years, at the age of 6. So he didn't never have a father around, which should speak to probably his issue with authority. I think this is something we definitely got to keep in mind. And then also he dropped out 11th grade to raise his brothers and sisters. So he has siblings. So he always has been in that leadership role. It seems like with his brothers and sisters. I don't know the ages, but I imagine maybe he's the oldest or whatever. Because I mean, but if not, then he was probably the oldest boy, if nothing else. So we find out these things. So we could find out why he probably has a little bit of issue with authority. And we also find out, you know, he played a heavy part in raising his siblings. And then we'll find out a little later about his issue with his mom. So it all kind of makes a lot more sense, even though we don't get a therapy session with Ralphie. But we also, you know, the parents jab Ralphie like, oh, we would have never known. Like, I mean, or what did they say? No, we couldn't imagine that or something. Like they kind of like downplayed his whole like his whole journey of trying to be great or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. But then, you know, then Adriana's like, hey, you know, you got some cheerleaders, got some hotties, you know what I'm saying? He's just like, he was just
fucking loser.
You know what's funny, man?
I want to choke this guy, this kid. Like, I want to grab my belt.
Like he always.
I want to grab my belt, and I want to give him that house party whooping, bro. When the credits roll.
Only time this nigga was engaged was when he was dating younger, like young chicks.
I mean,
that's the only time
you
he was
just.
engaged.
I'm gonna speak more to it about it, but I just thought he was a real scumbag right here, like to Adriana for no reason, and it's like, bro, at that, like, she's like, if she's kind of like the auntie or cousin, auntie, whatever she is, she's hot, bro. Like you're a kid. Like I'm not saying you about to have game because you're a freshman in high school, but you definitely not about to be like super like corny. Like you're so corny and like off-putting. Like why are you talking crazy to her? Like that's I don't know. It's.
I think they were trying to paint that picture though of how much of a dipshit that he was, and to my earlier point of how dumb Adriana is too. I think the perception, what they're trying to paint the picture of, is the overall perception of everyone is that Adriana is kind of dumb.
Okay, yeah, she's definitely like, and I will be honest. At this point, when I first watched it, the very original time, I thought that AJ was gay. I thought I promise you, I thought that's the story they were going with. Because it was so much that wasn't explained, and like his issues with his sister, issues with his mom. Like, I'm like, bro, they're gonna make him gay. Like, that was my first time around. I'm like, because nothing is lining up, nothing is making sense. Like, he got a chip on his shoulder, but we don't know what the problem is. I swear, I was like, bro, like, I promise you, like, dog.
I know what you mean, and I just have to say this though. That is some nigga shit though. For us, like as men, as we be like, man, this nigga weird. He tapped out. He depressed. He must be gay. Like, he gotta be. Gay.
It's a little more. Let me shoot a little bit for if we have listeners that are not
just based off just that alone.
Oh, just that.
I just think it's really funny. Yeah, it's really funny because we have the benefit of knowing, of seeing this a couple times too. There was a lot more than just what you're talking about. It was a lot more to it than that. But I do think that you brought up a good point, as us as black men will do. Like, man, what's wrong with this nigga? Is he gay? Like, that's
because that first season when he got in a fight with his friend, I thought that was just the weirdest kind of fight. Like, they shoving each other, then all of a sudden, like, your friends, like, oh yeah, we did blow up that frog, and then they go back to fighting. So it kept being these little seeds that I was like, okay, And then I'm like, he don't want to really hang out with his dad. He want to go to the mall. It was just these little things. I'm like, oh, that's where they're going. So when they didn't go there, I was like,
gotta be gay.
Yeah, just
gotta be gay.
And respectfully, all due respect. But I thought that that's where they were going to go because so much was unexplained about AJ. It almost could have been a better.
That was so
fit.
unintentionally funny, Mo.
To me, I honestly almost,
because that ain't even your character. That ain't your personality.
What do you mean?
But I think it's a default for all black men though. Like, nigga, if you
nah,
weird,
bro,
you
nah, that wasn't the default.
We do.
I mean,
no, that's what we do though. I didn't gay.
Like in the old back in, but okay, let me set a little backdrop. I didn't watch this back. I wasn't even close to watching it back in that time. If I watched it like back in '99. I think it would have been kind of like you said, the black man default. Like, okay, he weird, unexplained. Maybe he's gay. But I watched this during the pandemic, so I was of age. So I'm at 30 at that point.
Oh, because you had a brand new.
Yeah. So for me, I didn't have that default black man thinking. I had this era's lens. So for me, it wasn't just those kind of generic things. It was literally. Because it was so unexplained, I'm like, okay, the internal issue is this, even though it didn't end up being that. I almost feel like that would have worked better because I'm going to speak later in the episode about AJ where I was like, I just think that y'all didn't do enough for his character. But at the same time, that's how some people are in real life. It's just, I don't know. But anyways, before we get out of here, Jackie calls and in so many words, he says he's not coming. What do y'all think this animosity is coming from Jackie? We seen him flip somebody's whole food order at the pizza parlor. We see him like, man, forget it. Like, I'm not coming, bro. Whatever. With his mom on the phone. And then we see him like whatever with Tony last episode at the funeral. What do you think this animosity is coming from?
Richie. You know what I'm saying? My uncle just magically pops up, gone one day. I streets are saying that you had beef with him, Tony. I don't fuck with Tony. I don't fuck with Ralphie. All these changes. You know what I mean? My pops is gone. Like, I'm not fucking with none of this. And what's even worse is I'm being told that I have to be respectful.
Yep. And I'm of age now. Well, I kind of know what's going on, but I really don't. So I want to challenge all authority. I feel like I'm the biggest, baddest motherfucker in the room because I'm ignorant to what's going on for real. Rich hit it on the net. He hit the nail on the
head. Chris meets up with Paulie. He tells him basically the same thing. He tried to tell Tony it's a minor setback. And Paulie said, all right, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a couple more days. You got to come up with another 4 Gs. So now instead of him owing him 2 Gs that he's low on, he got to come up with another 2 Gs on top of that. And so Chris wants to be upset about it. And he tries to use the friend card. He's like, and Paulie basically says like, bro, don't use that friend card, bro. There's a pecking order. Like you gotta pay up to me, bro. Ain't no friend stuff. You know I'm good for it. Now I ain't know you know I'm good for it, bro. You a made guy now. Like you under me. Like ain't no none of that, bro. We gotta remember Paulie, as far as we know at this point, he's still 1B. I mean 2B. Like Silvio's 2A, he's 2B. So you right up under him. So like, bro, you're not coming in here telling me, oh, I'm good for it. Nah, bro, ain't no I'm good for it. No friend card, ain't no grace. Come on, bro. I'm not the one with the short bag. So what did y'all get from this scene before we move to the next scene?
we've mentioned him a couple times already this episode, a character we haven't met yet, but Phil Leotardo. To quote him, either it has meaning or no meaning.
Yeah.
I laid out the law to you very clearly when I gave you the sports book of what the expectation was. That's what this is. There is no, oh, I'm a couple grand short. What you mean you a couple grand short? If I was somebody, if I came to you and told you I was 2 grand short, what would your reaction be? I love the fact that Paulie was sitting on the bed when Chris came in, and as he's skimming through the money, he gets up immediately to let Chris know, like, I'm not joking about this. Yeah, you my mans and all that, but my nigga, you agreed to 6K. You told me that wasn't a problem. And now you walking in with, honestly, I kind of feel a way about how nonchalant you are about the fact that you 2 grand short.
Yeah. And thought it was gonna be cool.
Yeah, you thought this shit was gonna be cool. And I'm just sitting here like, nah, bro, you were made. You got a whole different set of responsibilities. Ain't nobody trying to hear I ain't got it or I'm short. So here's your tax.
I love it. Because again, it was explained to you very clearly at this ceremony, like what this is. And Paulie being a nigga that you kick up to is like, bro, it's 6 a week. I love like what you two just said, and I love the way that Paulie played. It's like, bro, all of that friend shit, it don't have anything to do with what we talking about. What we do, our business, is this 6K a week. And you agreed to bringing this to me, like coming and saying, oh, I'll bring 2,000 later. As soon as I let that shit slide, it's going to be worse and worse and worse. So I love how Paulie was like, nah, bro, you got me fucked up. And I don't want you to have me fucked up because that could be bad for you. So here's how we going to fix this shit. You're going to throw me more money on top of it, and you ain't going to never do this shit again. I love it. It was a great Paulie scene.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a great Paulie. And he kept it chill. He was like, hey, I'm not the one with the short back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I'm not the one short, bro. You mugging
don't
me.
Be looking at me like that.
Because I still got to pay up to Tony. Like, I still got to pay up to Tony.
You could have went and wrote movies. You could have went and wrote movies or whatever it is the fuck that you wanted to do, bro.
That part.
But you agreed to do this. Give me my money.
Yeah, you're right. That part.
And I think Chris looked at it as Chris is new as far as the made side of things. So he is kind of looking for some kind of mentorship. And I think in certain areas he's looking for Paulie, from Paulie, excuse me. Paulie, tell him, man, I'm not running a school here. This is what it is. You got to figure this shit out.
Yeah. I'm not running a school here. That's a great bar.
Right. You got this far. You made it to where you was able to sign up and do this shit, but now it's on you. It ain't on me to be like, oh, well, man, this is how you like, nah, it ain't on me, bro.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because once you got made, that Tony gave you all that you needed. Chris got to work with Tony. Chris got to work with Paulie. Chris got to work with Big P. This is season 1 and 2. You know what I mean? He even got to be at the executive game. So he got to work with the big dogs. You got all the schooling you need, bro. When you get made, it's time to get to it. So yeah, absolutely. We get to one of arguably Spike's favorite scene. Tony meets with Jackie Jr. at Vesuvio's. Jackie Jr. pulls up. He walking all nonchalant, chill with the Matrix glasses on, fake Neo head ass boy. And he, Tony
Oakley's on he got.
Man, right.
White boys love them Oakley glasses.
Boy, they love them things, don't they? He comes in with the leather jacket. He try to be all cool and stuff, and he comes immediately again with the animosity and disrespect. He's like, "I'm here, aren't I?" He really thinks like I look at the Tupac line of Janet Jackson on Poetic Justice. You acting like you God's gift to the earth. I can't go around to the rest of the lines, but if y'all watch Poetic Justice, y'all know how he go crazy on the right there in that scene. But like that's how he walking in, like I'm the heir to the throne. I'm Jackie Jr., my father. Like Richie's my uncle. Like he's walking in like he's next to be, and he's not any of those things. Like you're not even, you think you're Dickie Moltisanti's son. You know what I mean? Relax, dude. But like, you know what I mean? Like he thinks he's like, but I'll get more into that part of it. But I'm gonna throw it in your court, Spike. What did you think about it? I know there's some standout lines, standout moments. What did you think about this scene, and what did you think that it did for Jackie coming in versus leaving? Because I think there's obviously a transition that you can see visually.
I do agree with you with Jackie a little slow, so I really didn't really take into a lot of consideration of what it did for him. But what I did appreciate the most is I remember the opening scene of The Sopranos when you got Tony pulling up on a dude with the Lexus, damn near running him over in the office park. like where everybody could see. And the maturation of the character to a mob boss, being manipulative, like very casually talking this young dipshit through how you wanted him to feel and how he should react. Like just that growth of Tony Soprano versus how we first tapped into him goes to what I've been saying about the whole episode, is how this episode 3 is almost the birth of a brand new Tony and left all of the other stuff behind because his mom died or whatever it may be. I love the way that he was manipulating him, the way that he was telling him the lies, and then he held it. He looked at him to make sure, like, nigga, you better believe this shit. Like the moxie that he had in this, like tapping the fork with the on the plate, all of that shit, it just said mob boss. It just said, I have arrived, I'm here. A little dipshit like you can't even get me out of my comfort zone. Because there would have been a time where Tony would have picked this dude up and drug him out of there. And like, hey, we would have did the thing. But now that I'm in the position that I'm in, and you my man's son, I'm gonna make you see this how you need to see this in order for you to be safe. Like, this was brilliant, I feel like, by James Gandolfini as far as playing this scene. Like the way that I love the way that he was telling a lie about Richie, and he looked at him to see if he believed it, and he didn't move on till he really felt like, okay, he buying this bullshit. Let me keep going. It was a really, it's one of my favorite Sopranos scenes.
Couldn't agree more, man. Even the way he squints at him, he kind of squints at Jackie in a way like, you really don't know this? Like, you thought that this
nobody
is
like,
told
you?
Yeah, nobody told. This been on the streets for a long time.
Yeah.
And for a person like Jackie, it's so brilliant by Tony because he feel like he in the loop. Like, it goes even back to the scene where they were grilling and Chris told Tony who Jackie was with. He told Tony who Jackie was with. Tony uses that information in this scene. Like, I know you running with the crowd, the people that do what we do. So how is it that no one has told you that your uncle is a snitch? And using that against him and all the stuff that Jackie hated about, like, it was brilliant. It was brilliant as far as how he set that shit up.
Yeah, like just how he broke him down, like lose the glasses. First off, tap, hey, look at me.
Get shit off, man.
Take the glass, lose the glasses, look at me.
What do you mean you ain't hungry? This is lunch. I told you it was
I told you that,
like
that's disrespectful. Like, you supposed to come here with an appetite. That's disrespectful. When we meet here, I'm expecting you to eat. If you eat before this, that's a sign of disrespect.
I'm breaking bread with you.
I'm breaking bread with you. And it's like, I know you're thinking, I know on one side of things, I understand that you think that I clipped your uncle, but I didn't. And it's just like this way of, this works so well in Tony's favor because it's like, I actually didn't. So the best, everybody knows the best lie is the lie that's as close to the truth as possible. So it's like how close he could ride the line. Like, bro, I didn't kill him. I didn't. Like, so then it's easier for him to lie on witness protection.
Not only did I not kill him, it's out on the streets what happened because I put the lie out there and you ain't heard it. What type of nincompoop are you? Like, you ain't even in the game like we are.
Yeah, man. And it shows also the energy that Tony was bringing. Somebody in Tony's position had every right to wring Jackie by the neck,
bro,
and kind of tell him what time it was. But he really led off with the ways that you could think. Like, if this meeting goes badly, it's because you chose for it to go badly. Because I'm sitting here offering you food, I'm offering you drink, I'm talking to you respectfully. I set the expectation. I'm gonna say some things. I'm gonna say some bad words, and you got to sit there and take it. You know exactly what's about to happen in this meeting. Even when he stands up in no fucking way, sit down. Like, he doesn't make a big outrage about it. Like you said, Spike, you're not even worth me getting out of my character for. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this out of respect to your father, to your father.
But I do like I'll give it to I can't remember. I don't know if his name is Jason. I gotta look him back up on IG, but the character, the gentleman that plays Jackie Jr., he's still with us. The way that Tony, after he says, like, everybody, you can ask anybody, they know. And then the way his look and everything changes where Jackie immediately, now he's opening up to Tony. Now Tony has his ear now. Now
guilty.
Tony's talking.
Yep.
I mean, now
Now
Jackie, he feeling guilty. And now Jackie's like, kind of like, because I respect Tony, I don't respect Chris. So now he's like, well, I can't do this doctor thing at Rutgers. I was trying to find the easiest thing to do, but I can't. And I wanted to tie in here as we move on, but like, this is the correlation of the fortunate son. This scene to me, the fortunate son is actually sons, because it's 3 of them. I look at this: AJ, Chris, and Jackie Jr. Those are the fortunate sons. Because I look at that all.
I only
took it as Jackie Jr. I felt like that AJ and Chris were distractions, and Jackie Jr. was the actual fortunate son, especially
even
how we've
Tony.
seen the rest of the season play out. And
even Tony's a fortunate son. Tony just ducked the RICO charge because his mom passed.
And even the fortunate son, in the sense of the story that he tells about his dad, how it affected him versus how it would have affected most little kids. And his dad mentions that most guys your age would have ran out of there crying. You stood there and you watched, and we'll get into it later. But yeah, I think my perception was the fortunate son was specifically talking about Jackie Jr. And that the curveball was Chris, the curveball was AJ, and they wanted us to think that, but Jackie Jr. was the real fortunate son that they were talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I think that was kind of probably the foundation of it. But the more I watch it, I said, no, I see the correlation clear as day. You know, I all of their fathers were mob bosses. I mean, or in the mob. So I look at it all kind of tied in together. Like, you know, AJ's dad, Christopher's dad, Jackie Jr.'s dad. So I looked at it all like, oh, you know, but it's nonetheless, it's great stuff.
No, that's a real good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, so I love this is just good stuff. But I like how the disengagement of him kind of changing in that. We go to AJ at the football game, and it seems like everything's going good, and Tony has a problem with the fact that like his son ain't got in, and the father that's with him, which is funny, he was in season 1. He was the actual the father of the other kid that AJ got in a fight with season 1. So I thought that was a real interesting thing that they happened to be sitting next to each other when he was going to get the plant stuff and, you know, the garden stuff. But
damn, it's the same dude.
That's the same dude. Like, I thought that was just, they keep things really tight knit, and I love that about the Sopranos. But we get this whole thing. We find out the freshman rules that like he makes sure every freshman gets playing time, which reminds me of my own time. But that's a whole nother episode, a whole nother thing. But what did you get, Spike Lou, from this football scene?
What did I get from this football scene? I feel like this was AJ trying to impress his dad, and he made a lucky play that did impress him. It wasn't really anything extent, like they recovered a fumble, and just because he recovered a fumble, like Tony was all in. Like, you gotta drink milk for your moans, you gotta do all these different things, and it's probably kind of where Junior continued to poke at him about not being a varsity athlete. You want to feel like that I birthed a varsity athlete. I birthed someone who could do these things. And he really wanted to lock into AJ being that type of dude. What I wondered in watching this is what would this show would have been like if AJ wasn't such a loser and he was actually good at football. Like if he actually did this well, and Tony were able to actually engage in his son being a good football player. But this was bullshit. He like recovered a fumble randomly. Like he didn't do anything great. Like I just want to be very clear. Like there was no reason for Tony to be this hype other than him tying into the success that AJ had or what Junior used to ridicule him about.
I always felt AJ got a concussion in that scene too.
He got what?
I feel like he got a concussion in that scene too. I've always felt that. When you look at the way his helmet's kind of slid off, like there's a scene later in the episode where he's just staring out at the pool when somebody's talking to him. I just felt like there was something else going on too. But yeah, everything you said was spot on. This is the first time we see Tony really like other than feeling guilty about not spending time with AJ when he tried to take her fishing, like he really's proud of AJ. Like, I want to hang out with you. Like, let's go get some dogs. Like, I'm gonna sit on the couch with you, watch the game, teach you some pointers. Like, there's something we finally can relate on because I don't understand. He told P last, I think in season 2, like I don't understand him. I can't talk to him, so I just want to kick him out the car sometimes. Now it feels like, okay, then this is Tony Soprano's son. You do got my blood in you.
Yeah, I agree. I think they just. I get more to AJ on a later scene. Tony goes to the Bing and he gets a call from Carmel, and Carmel is basically saying, "Hey, look, we got to keep the family, dinner aspect happening. We need you to come home. We need to keep that going." He's like, "All right, cool." We notice that Tony has like a mustard stain and a ketchup stain on his shirt, so he's already kind of disregarded the family dinner, so to speak, like because he went out with AJ. I think that's what we're supposed to believe earlier that day, if this is the same day. So we see the stains on there, which I think they were trying to get us to see that. And we also see Patsy in there doing the same thing he was doing in the first episode, just doing the numbers and stuff. So he must be a real numbers guy, and this is their busiest season, as they have overemphasized in this episode. But Tony goes to the crib, and when we get to that scene, Tony and AJ have a moment where he says that you said you wanted to go to West Point. And AJ said, "No, I didn't. I never said that. I could never go there." Who's lying here, Tony or AJ?
We got
AJ. We saw Tony. We saw AJ say this.
Yeah.
Did we?
Said it on the
season.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah. At the dinner table.
Facts. When Olivia and all them was sitting there, he said he wanted to go to those places. Tony wasn't bullshit.
So then what's the like? Well, I guess it's just teenager line. Like it's teenagers. What you do
now? He's just accepted being a fucking loser.
Okay.
I'm gonna be biased in this situation. He's just accepted. I don't work that hard. Even football doesn't give me the joy that I thought it would give. My dad's being proud of me. Like none of that shit motivates him. And one of the burning questions about this series is like, okay, what drives AJ? And I think as viewers, we look at it and like, it ain't never really a concrete thing that drives AJ, and that's what frustrates us about him most. It's all bullshit.
That's why I think that correlation between him and Christopher and Jackie, because really, what drives Christopher?
Drugs.
That doesn't really drive.
No, Chris like money and the power though. He like money and power. Like he want to be like the prestige is what drives him.
I think it's the idea, but he still ain't really.
If AJ had in his mind, I'm Tony Soprano's son, and I want people to know me for that, that would at least be satisfying for us as viewers to be like, okay, I get it. He don't even got that though. Like he don't even have the wherewithal to be like, my dad is a fucking gangster, the top mob boss in the city, and I can utilize it. Like he don't even that never
he
registers with AJ throughout the whole series.
No, he did.
Yeah, he did later on.
He did in the club.
He got
had a moment.
for it.
Yeah, he did, but it wasn't like
Okay,
yeah, but it still didn't resonate though. He just finessed it, but like he really could use the Jackie Jr. Out of respect for my father. Like he needs to ride that wave.
Yes,
like he needs to ride that Jackie Jr. wave like
folks.
Yesterday, dude.
Facts.
Dude, but Meadow calls in the scene as well, and she's like, "Is mom there? Is mom there?" And he's trying to like check in, and she's still keeping the same energy, like, and he tosses the phone to AJ or whatever. I wanted to say this, and y'all can add to whatever else y'all see for this scene, and we can keep it moving. But it seems like as things are changing in Tony's family, so are things changing in the mafia. I think that's what they're trying to drive home here in this scene. Anything else y'all get from this dinner scene? Okay. I will say too, this is
another.
I think you nailed it.
Oh, okay. I will say though, I did like this look from Meadow. I'm a big fan of the towel over the head joint. Like I do like that look, like that. Me personally, you know what I mean. I thought we'll note that. That's a thing for me. We get Janice and a quick small scene from Janice and Svetlana. Svetlana still isn't giving up the records. Like Janice is going for it. She tried to go hard and she's still not giving up the records. So Janice like, all right, that's cool. Anything I get from this small scene, or I can keep going.
Yes, the Janice is a fucking gangster. Janice a G, man. I guess the only thing that I get from this, and we see this shit play out through the rest of the season. Yeah, that's all I got.
But my Svetlana's a gangster too, man. Both of them. I love that shit.
Oh yeah,
definitely is.
I love this back and forth that we get to
Janice
see.
met her match.
Oh yeah, she did.
Like Janice definitely met her match right here. Like, yeah, you got me. You took me lightly. You got me fucked up. And I don't want to do no spoilers, but yeah, she definitely met her match.
I agree. Christopher A. Chris is going off about, that bird. It was that dang on bird. That bad luck is a bad omen to me. I knew this is the reason I can't earn that, because obviously it sounds like Chris was making good money with the sports book right before getting made, and now he's fell on hard times. Obviously, Adriana's doing the ab workout, man. Shouts out to A. This all makes sense. This is definitely lines up to like the glorious abs that we seen in the first episode, Mr. Ruggiero's Neighborhood, when we got that tennis shot. But Chris is stressed out about earning, and he wants to sell Aid's bracelet, but she tells him you should sell the whip.
Told you to buy that Range Rover.
Right. So he definitely jumped the gun there. But anything I get from this interaction between them two?
Chris just knows go time. This shit ain't. The last time we was in this apartment, I was geeked. You was picking up my clothes. I couldn't wait for this moment to happen. And now that it's here, this shit's a lot more stressful than I thought it was going to be. Like, can your moms help out? Like, who can I get some bread from? Like, this shit is real right now.
Deal. Right.
That nigga going through a jewelry box. Like, what can we sell? Like, this shit.
Yeah, he for real, bro. Like, look.
Rest.
Yeah, we got the cigarette coming out his mouth. Like, he looks stressed. Like, damn.
Yeah. We get Svetlana woke up this morning, lost myself, my leg. And turns out Svetlana's leg is gone. And she immediately knows what's up. Ain't no hesitation, without a shadow of a doubt. It was clearly Janice. And so Svetlana starts talking in Russian. She calling the goons, and it's about to go down. These scenes are pretty short. There's a lot of short scenes here, so I'm gonna keep us moving along. I think this episode was a little longer than the other ones. Rich, I don't know, maybe you can confirm that, but I don't know, did this feel like a longer episode? It's like 50.
Yeah, it had a lot of different stuff going on. They packed a lot into I think it was about 56 minutes. They just packed a lot in here.
Okay, because I know they got.
Like I said, I think part of it was them. Like I said, this is the real intro for the season in a sense. Okay. So I think they were just packing a lot of storylines that were going to be told.
Okay. Y'all jump in where y'all feel. Chris goes to collect. He's collecting some chunk change from some fiend that owes him $300. Y'all get anything y'all want to add to that, or we can keep flowing here?
Just goes in the rhythm what I said earlier about the pizza spot, man. He's just doing things that he's above now. Like, he's above level. All of this.
Yeah.
But to let you know that he's not above it because he didn't prepare properly to be a mad guy. Chris should have had some shit stacked away just for moments like this. He should have had some shit. If I ever in a jam, I can pull out the personal stash, and now I know better and I can learn on the fly. He can't learn on the fly because he's been tricking it off and blowing it on drugs and whatever else, other bullshit, Range Rovers. Yeah.
He spent like the fact that he didn't have $2,000 is crazy. In they line of work. The fact that I got to go shake niggas down, I got to ask my girl to pawn her jewelry. Like, bro, I've been in this shit for a while, made guy or not. I've been making money doing gangster shit for a minute. If I can't come up with $2,000 in a day, something wrong. And it goes to the point what you said about Chris Mo. Like, you ain't really in this. Like, niggas is in this. Niggas is doing this. Like, asking Ralphie for $2,000 would have been like, it's like, give me a piece of tissue, bro. Like, that's how simple it is for niggas like him that's really in this.
Yeah.
But a nigga like Chris, who 1 foot in, 1 foot out, wondering about all this other shit, $2,000 is a lot to come about because I ain't got no gangster connections.
Yeah, sure.
I gotta call Jackie Jr. and do bullshit ass robberies with him.
And it makes sense. I mean, you remember he probably dropped the bag on getting Adriana that ring, bro. Like,
bro, but
he didn't even have to do that. If you never put your hands on
you're right.
Then you would have never even had to get the ring. Y'all could have
even in that sense of dropping the bag to get her the ring, like there's a certain level that people like him are supposed to be on when you get made like that, even from a financial standpoint that Chris just wasn't doing. He was playing little boy games. Like, you with the big boys now. That's what Paulie told him, bro. This ain't no school. Like, ain't no way you ain't got $2,000 put up, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way you coming to me as somebody that you respect, who you trying to play this friend card with, and you coming to me and be like, oh, this is just foe.
Mm-hmm.
Where the other two at, bro? I don't give a fuck if you made it or not. You
Mm-hmm.
should have it somewhere where you ain't disrespecting me and feeling like, oh, I'm pulling up on him with a short stack.
Mm-hmm. And Tony
past that right now.
And Tony, you can't make the excuse about like, oh, because you're with somebody, because Tony was coming up making his bones, and he's been with Carmela since high school. So it's like, even if you want, you know what I mean, if you want to be like, oh, I can't, it's hard, I'm trying to balance out the relationship, I'm trying to figure out, nah, bro, like Tony was able to balance that thing out and figure it, you know. So it's like, you gotta get to it.
Livid if a nigga came up to me talking about, oh man, you know, I'm trying to get married and shit, man, I'm 2,000 short. Like, bro, what the fuck? What that got to do with me, bro?
Yeah, and they might
like,
get
we
you
run
out
a business here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, we get that, and then we kind of get him knocking her down on the bed, you know, subtly. He apologizes, but we definitely not gonna get no apologies in the future. We get Svetlana and Tony have a talk. She calls him over there, and who does Tony see? He sees Irina, and she's getting married from what she's. And so they have this conversation, and basically Tony's not really even acknowledging Svetlana like that. He's more so focused on Irina and like, why am I even here? Why are we even doing this?
You set this shit up.
Yeah, you set this up crazy. Did she set this up? Like, I don't know if I got that from watching this. I don't know.
I didn't think so. I thought it was Tony being arrogant. She married. She moved on with her life. Like, she would have been good if. Well, I can't even get into it. She would have been good if, but yeah, I feel like she had moved on. Like, she was being authentic in that sense. I don't know why she wanted to be there either.
You think there was a slight little bit like, I kind of miss you, but I'm cool?
Yeah, that's a woman thing. Women, I guess, do shit like that.
Okay, that's what I was thinking too. But yeah, we get that flashback, which was how did you feel about that flashback? You still hated it?
Yes.
Okay. You rather Tony just said it?
Why do you hate it?
I don't like the going back to get the information as far as this is the one y'all talking about where his dad cut the dude's finger off, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have rather had an engaging conversation with Dr. Melfi and Tony and him walking her through that. I just the flashbacks never worked for me. The dream sequences, the flashbacks, is just never a good like, okay, I see. He could have said that to her in their session, and I would have got a lot more out of it.
That's consistent. That's consistent with how he always feels. Like, I figured it was like you would have just rather him said it. This flashback,
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it.
Okay. You are you Rich? Are you under the I rather flashbacks than dream sequence?
Yeah, I'll take flashbacks over the dream sequence every day of the week.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, twice on Sundays. Ain't no question about it.
Okay.
You know, it is what it is, man. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. I could do without it, but I'm not upset.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't upset about it either. I like I actually like seeing it because I like to see, we're not gonna get like no prequel. I mean, we got the movie prequel, we're not gonna get like a prequel series. So seeing Johnny and Junior, it was cool. I mean, because if we didn't get many Saints, this stuff I think would have been very valuable. It kind of, to me, it kind of takes the value down a little bit because we got many Saints. And I've spoke about this before. I mean, I got a whole lot of likes on, like, it was some post about Many Saints, and I just felt like the way they played Johnny Soprano in Many Saints, it was just, I said that it's not the same Johnny. Like, he was way more aggressive and way more not at ease. And I felt like the one we got in the show is more charming and has a little more finesse about him. And so that was one of my biggest issues with Johnny Soprano and Many Saints. You get flashbacks like these, even how smooth he is with his son. Versus there, it's like, bro, he's just so high strung and angry. So this don't even seem like the same man that Tony speaks about when we see that. But that's a whole nother thing. Maybe when we start a Patreon, we'll do a review on it or something like that, and then y'all can really get our whole spiel on Many Saints at some point. But yeah, and they literally, and they played a lot with transition. They transitioned right into the Melfi session. And he tells her, like, basically this is where it comes from. And I did like in the flashback that Johnny said a man honors his debts. I like that. That was just like a strong, like, ageless phrase there. There's this weird thing that's happening where Johnny is singing this song about giving up his limbs or something, and it's really triggering Tony in the therapy session. But just to keep it moving, is there anything else y'all got from this therapy session? Just him going through it, and they're kind of making a big breakthrough. Anything else y'all get from this therapy session in the flashback?
I just think it was how good Melfi did a great job of, like, just getting to the root of stuff, even though Tony gives her bullshit most of the time. She's able to cipher through that, and she finally got to the point of the meat, Paul, is the thing that's causing these things for you. And I just thought it was a very nice ode to how good she is at her job.
Yeah, I think to go back to what we were talking about earlier, that is probably a reason why we have the flashback scene. I think it plays out a little bit better when we see it for ourselves. It's kind of what Dr. Melfi was probably seeing in her head as he's going through this with her, as he's talking. She's probably envisioning the whole scene, how it went down. I was like, oh shit, that's dramatic.
And at 8, I'm locked in. That's when I'm like, let's do it.
And pick right back
and
up.
I know you the same way with the
Sorry, y'all, man. What was you saying, Rich?
Happens. It ain't your fault.
You was just saying about Melfi.
No, I was just saying how she sees, like, at the reason that we get the flashback viewers. That's probably what Melfi is seeing as he's going through the process of everything that was going down. You know, as she's coming to the conclusion and what's triggering these panic attacks, these spells, as Carmine would call them. I think it's a way for the audience to kind of get a better idea of what exactly it looks like, and to see Livia too. We just got said goodbye to Livia, but we see her in a completely different light than we've ever seen her. Mm-hmm. You know, all the sexual innuendos that were going on between her and Johnny, and you know, Tony putting things together, passing out, and just obviously that breakthrough moment that everybody looks for in therapy. Like, aha, like, this is why you've been coming. We've actually gotten to the root of something. Like, yo, this is something that you really need to dig into. So it was just master work, like Spike said, by Dr. Melfi. It shows you why she's at the top of her game.
We get a scene with Tony and AJ. They watching football, and Carm says, "Hey, look, I'm gonna go see Meadow on campus, going in the city." And AJ says, "Hey, can I come too?" And Tony's like, "Bro, we watching football. Like, what are you talking about?" Like, and so Tony's like, "Well, I'm coming too." And then Carm does a great job at painting the pictures. Like, you can come. I can't tell you not to come as your child, but at the end of the day, these are the factors. Is this about Sambo? When I hear Sambo, that is probably, anyway, I can't even. Sambo. That is the bottom of the barrel of black. Like, that's worse than, like, nigga, like Sambo.
That's right there with Swahili, though. That's right there with Swahili.
That's right there with Swahili, but Sambo Swahili. Is like right crazy. But what did y'all get from this like transaction? I mean, unless y'all want me to just run it all together, but like, what did y'all get from this transaction for AJ making this decision? Because this kind of goes back to what I was saying about where I thought they were going with AJ. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like, it looked like, oh
yeah, I get what you're saying. Because that. Especially when you counter it with earlier when he didn't even want to get on the phone with her. Mm-hmm. You know, when she called, when, you know, they were waiting on Jackie Jr. to come to dinner, he was like, no, I don't want to talk to her. And now all of a sudden you want to go into the city to go to college. and he wasn't really interested. It's not like he was super engaged. I think he just wanted to do something different. He might not even be comfortable with this newfound attention that he's getting from Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, this shit is cool, but I don't love it like you do. I see that you're way into this more. You're into this way more than I am. Like, let me take a little break.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I agree. I agree with Rich.
Okay. Yeah, I agree as well. It's just I thought, now this is where I was like, when y'all was talking about like he didn't want to go on a fishing trip season 2. This is where I feel like, okay, flood AJ with the hate comments at this point. Now, this is where I'm like, bro, like you chilling in the cut, you on the football team, you having a great moment, y'all eating junk food, you chilling with your dad. This is the point. You didn't have no plans. Versus the fishing trip that I talked about season 2. You had plans to go to the mall and your dad came up with something and you didn't drop them. I get that. Versus this, you were already kicking it with Pops. Now you all of a sudden just want to drop off and go to the city to see Meadow in college. So that was more, I feel like this is a moment like if you want to go.
I mean, that kind of makes sense too, though. With AJ, like it's
New
York City, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Going to New York, it's Columbia, like rather than just sit. It goes to show that the things that, again, excite Tony or excite most of the people in this lifestyle, AJ just really ain't for.
Mm-hmm.
He want to go to the city, he want to explore, he want to do different things. And this speaks to like him wanting to go with his mom right here. Like, I don't want to just sit on the couch and be like you watching the old movies and be the gangster and shit like that. I want to go, I want to get out, I want to do different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that speaks to his character though.
Yeah, I think it's that
not
whole
taking up for him at all.
That's what I said. This is that whole fortunate son thing. Like I think all of it ties together. Like AJ, Tony wants AJ to be into what he's into, but he's not. Chris plays like he's into what Tony's into, but he really don't want to be into it, but he don't know how to deal with it. Jackie wants to be into he is into the same thing that, so to speak, Tony's into, but can't get into it. So it's like, that's why I feel like the fortunate son is more sons, with all three of them like having these kind of connective tissues. But I think Carmela makes a good point here. We go to a moment where everybody's watching football. They're watching football at the Bada Bing, watching football at Junior's, watching football at Christopher's betting place. We get the scene where Carmela visits Meadow, and Meadow asks where her dad is. I just wanted to ask y'all quickly. I mean, we see how the whole thing, we got that famous line. He's lucky I didn't punch his lights out, which is just ridiculous. Like, it's a ridiculous line from young Noah, man. Like, your name is Noah. Like, you're like the most unintimidated black man, bro. Like, there's nothing about you that is scary. Like, it's the craziest thing to me when I heard that line. I'm like, bro, you have curly hair. You have on Ninja Turtle sandals, dude, like with some socks on. Like, you are the most, anyway. But Meadow,
I saw a tweet that said,
what?
Fictional characters in TV shows that were most likely to have a podcast if they were in the real world. Noah was definitely one of the people that were mentioned. As far as fictional characters that would have a podcast.
Oh, he would definitely have a podcast. Definitely. Like,
yeah. And I like the point, what you pointed out, him saying, oh, I should have punched him in his mouth, and Meadow saying, oh, well, no, you're more civilized than that. I think there was a really good dialogue in the sense of what she's looking for, in the sense of, and we'll see later in the guys that she picks, how far away from her father that she's trying to be. Mm-hmm. Whether it be a black person, whether it be a dentist, where it be someone who just doesn't, there's no way that they're going to be in this type of lifestyle that her dad's in.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I like this whole transaction because like Carmela's trying to shoot bail, and she try to like lean on like the fact that like, I'm sure you had challenges, Noah, but you basically being biracial and stuff, and then Meadow steps up and just checks her like, bro, don't try to put him in a certain kind of place. Like, look at where you ended up. Like, you ended up with a mafia guy. So don't try to tell him about his challenges. Look at yours. Like, I really like Meadow in this scene. Probably because I'm black, but I did like Meadow a lot in this scene. Carmela wasn't going crazy, but I feel like Carmela probably echoes the same sentiments as Tony. She's just yeah, but yeah, I like this scene. I like everything about it. I'm gonna run through these next few scenes for the sake of time. I know we run a little long. I know some of the listeners really like the longer episodes, but I'm gonna run through some of the scenes, and then from that point, y'all can just drop in wherever whatever stood out to y'all. So,
hold on, real quick. I'm off. I just love the one scene that I love was when AJ was like, "What Dad say?" And he looked at Noah like, "Oh, I know what he said."
did he know what he said though? That's like always my question. I'm like, did he know?
He knew what it had. He knew what it had to do with.
Okay, he knew what it had to do with. It was something about him being black.
Yeah, man.
Because remember, he had that same, like, I think season 2 with Janice, like, he's like, oh, I know what he means. And he's like, I'm saying she's a vegetarian. Remember when Tony, like, was saying. So, but I'll run through these next few scenes. Janice and Svetlana, Svetlana says, Janice, you're going to be sorry if she moves out with the husband that has the kids. Chris and Jackie Jr. are at the parlor, and they basically set up the play to say, "Hey, look, we're gonna rob this, this event that is a, raise money for a good cause event on the college campus." There's a family dinner, and basically AJ storms off after saying he didn't want to go to college, and I got so many issues. Like, it's just I have so many issues on why they wrote AJ this way. But this must be like, this is nothing like a black experience. Like that's all I can. Jackie and Chris, they do the heist. Now, if we want to stop right here for a moment, they do the heist and Jackie pees on himself. Jackie pees on himself.
What's even crazier about that whole thing is Jackie is the getaway guy, man. He's a driver. Benny and Chris are the one actually putting in the work. So the fact that you can't even
was that Benny?
Like, yeah, that was Benny.
Oh, I thought it was Dino.
Chris. Nah, Dino. Remember, Dino got pinched.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Which is why he wasn't there to begin with. You know what I mean? They firing out shots. They said, "Fuck it, man." So they really about that life. We about to put it in, but Jackie couldn't even. I'm surprised Jackie ain't pull off for real.
What? Let me ask you this: in that moment, what do you do if you got to pee crazy like that? But at any moment they could be coming out. What do you do?
You should have made sure that was taken care of beforehand.
Right, but let's
say,
what
I mean, like, I wonder
absolutely.
how much of that is adrenaline. The adrenaline
yeah.
Knowing that we in this situation now, everything's heightened up. It's almost like when you got to go to the bathroom, and the closer you get to actually going, like the more it wants to come out. You know what I mean? Like you got to rush it. It's one of those type of things, in my opinion. So I don't know, man.
So more like
but Jackie, obviously the symbolism of. You ain't built for this, man.
Yeah.
This little thing got you peeing in your pants. Like, come on, stay in school.
Stay in school. That's crazy. That's
you on the opposite side of this. You should be in that benefit concert. You shouldn't be out here being a getaway driver.
You peeing.
This ain't your road, guy.
Like you ain't fit. Even Chris had to come through and tell him drive, almost like Franklin Saint. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Chris meets up with Paulie, and they're doing a lot of this. I mean, we'll call out just quick because I'm gonna move us all the way to like where we need to be. But like the episode, they're doing like these scene transitions from car to car, door to door, one food scene to the next food scene. So they're doing a lot of these smooth transitions. But they have this conversation in the car, Paulie and Chris. He say, "Hey man, being made ain't working out like I thought." And Paulie says, "What did you think?" And he says, "A lot of responsibility." And he says, "Welcome to the NFL, kid." And I thought that was just a bar right there. What did y'all get from this scene that he actually got the money, and he told him basically where he got the racket from. But what did y'all get from this Paulie and Chris scene?
I think OG was keeping it real with him. OG was telling him, like, bro, this shit ain't just like what we were saying earlier in this episode. It ain't just the lights and the glamour and people knowing your name and all part of the crew. There are actually things that you have to do to make sure that you're hitting the goal and the quote every month, to ensure that you are a part of this other than just talking about that shit in today's terms in social media, or just talking about that shit and bragging about it. Like, nah, there are things that I got to do this. And Paulie, an old school nigga, like, bro, I've been doing this for years. I know how hard it is. And I'm trying to relate to you how hard this shit is. I think it was a great scene.
Yeah. And he's finally given Chris that OG wisdom that he was looking for earlier. Like now that you got this bread, now I say your hustle's up
Facts.
to give me my bread, and you actually on cue with it. Now you know the expectations. This is what you need to do. Move forward, man. Leave that shit alone. Even though Chris wasn't using, he was actually on the run to get that bread.
Yeah.
You know, make sure you leave that shit alone. Make sure you get your 7 hours, man. Keeps your mind sharp. This is a different ball game you're a part of. You don't have the luxury of making mistakes. You got people that are answering to you, and that you have to answer to. And the consequences, if you don't have the right answers when those questions are being asked, could sincerely be life or death. So you just got to make sure you're on top of your shit. This is a whole different ball game than anything you've been used to in your life.
Absolutely. And in commendatory, like Chris was supposed to be working with Paulie out there when they would like supposed to be going to the docks to get that whole car transition situation. But you know, I think off screen Paulie let it ride because he knew what time it was. But I think this ties back into season 2 commendatory of that whole scenario. It's like leave that alone, bro. Paulie meets with Tony and he tells Tony that Chris augmented the bag from Rutgers with Jackie Jr. Of course, Tony doesn't like that. Tony calls Chris. Chris doesn't pick up. AJ is named defensive captain and he passes out. And that is the end of this episode. Anything I get from those last 3 transitions from the Paulie to Tony meeting, the call, and AJ being called defensive captain?
For one, Chris ignoring calls. Like, damn. Once it goes right into what he was saying, this May thing isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Like the moment I do get a second for myself that I need, I'm getting phone calls from you. And obviously that ties into what you guys said earlier about where certain people get their information from. You know, even though probably did the right thing, it's also one of those like, damn, bro, I didn't tell you for you to run back and tell Tony. I'm just letting you know between me and you, this is how to get your bread up.
I had to get it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? If you tell him that I did it, make sure you tell him because you charged me another 2 G's. Which obviously Tony's gonna understand because you ain't have my money to begin with, so that's just kind of part of the tax. Right. And obviously with AJ fainting, it just lets us know that this is something that's hereditary. This is something that's been going on with the Soprano men, not just with Tony, but obviously even before him and after him. Right. Yeah, about to say before him and after him. So yeah.
Anything you add to that? Any of those scenes, Spike Lee?
No, Rich nailed it. That was perfect.
All right. And that is our episode, season 3, episode 3, Fortunate Son. But before we get out of here, we can't leave y'all without no rankings. So Spike Lee, first and foremost, how do you rank this episode?
This was a made episode.
Wow. A made, but last week wasn't. I got to hear this. Why?
No. Again, I think the pivot in this episode was very vital. I think we got the birth of the real Tony Soprano. We got the birth of the AJ and where he's going to go when we see this shit play out as fans. It had a lot of, okay, this is what this series is about now. This is what I want you as fans to remember moving forward. And, excuse me, I just think they did a great job of doing it.
Okay. What say you, Rich?
I'm going with a good earner.
Good earner. Why is that?
Good earner, man. I think it's a great, like I said, we keep referring to it as the season opener because in a lot of ways it is, but it's a great way to kick off this new world that we're in, these new characters, the events that are going to happen. Season 3 is a very strong and solid season, and I think this is the perfect way to get it going. And we get a big revelation as far as Tony and why he is the way he is. Everything about it was great. Good earner for me.
Good earner for me as well. I think this does serve like y'all been saying, like this is kind of like the opening because of like kind of the 2-parter that the first episode and second episode had, but the second episode is a little more important and holds a little more weight. That's to me why it's made versus this one is a good earner. I don't know how many just another envelopes I'm going to have. I can't believe Spike said just another envelope last week, but we'll revisit that at the end of the recap of season 3. But this is definitely a good earner for me. And I don't think there's going to be too many just another envelopes. Spike, who gets the good earner award for this episode?
The good earner award for this episode for me goes to Dr. Melfi.
Wow.
Really being in her bag, being able to decipher what the root cause of it was for Tony's anxiety attacks. Like they had a thorough conversation. She was able to keep him engaged enough, and it wasn't too much extra shit going on in the world where she could really focus in on what's causing this, how the meat is being brought home. Pause. But yeah, I think that was a really good job.
Okay. Who gets a good earner award for you, Rich?
Going Paulie, man.
Haha, Paulie.
Yeah. Dr. Melfi definitely could have been on that list just because of the work that she put in. But Paulie, man, he got took Chris under his wing in a sense, maybe not directly. But he was able to see him grow into becoming a made man, gave him his sports betting business, and also earned some money on top of that. He kicks up to Tony, but he also gets money, even though I'm giving this away. This is something that's still a form of income. Minimum of 6 G's that you need to kick up. Easy win for him. And no matter what, he doesn't have to, all the sweating and running around and hustle and bustle that Chris goes through, that don't mean shit to Paulie. Paulie can not break a sweat and I'm still getting my envelope. I think that with Chris moving up in the world, that means other people are moving up in the world as well. So I just got to give it to Paulie for that.
That's a good point.
I got to go Meadow, man. Meadow didn't back down. She let her dad know how she felt. Is mom there? Is mom there? Like, I'm not here to talk to you, bro. And then on top of that, when mom pulls up, I'm like, oh, you got it too. Like, oh, you thought you was going to smooth talk. You're going to be the smooth talker. You're going to play good cop. Now I'm gonna let you know what time it is too. Like both y'all with y'all old mentality, you out of pocket, bro. Like, so I really like Meadow standing up for, even though I don't like Noah, and y'all see why for those that are new watchers and listeners of this show. But I did like her stepping up, just like having a broader view and standing on her, sticking to her guns and being well versed in what she was talking about. Spike Lee, who gets the Broken Balls Award of this episode?
The Broken Balls Award of this episode go to Christopher, man. Tough time transitioning.
Might be trips
trying
here.
To be a made guy. Absolutely. Trying to be a made guy, man. Just understanding what this world is really about if you're not fully committed to it. And that's the problem that Christopher has, is commitment.
Okay. Rich, who gets the Broken Balls for you?
The correct answer is Chris. The answer I'm going to go with is Svetlana.
Oh, good call.
I only say that because when I look at the scenarios, for Chris, it's more of a learning curve and a wake-up call.
Okay.
For Svetlana, that's a fucking inconvenience.
Great call.
Like, that puts a fucking dent in my day. You know what I mean? That puts that is everything that I had planned has to stop now so I can make a pivot, no pun intended, and figure out how we got to get this thing resolved. And it leads to some great entertainment between her and Janice and all types of stuff. And we have we're going to end up having a moment where Janice is the Leon. Janice is going to end up being the Leon to Tony's Franklin. Like, every time you go against them, I lose. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Woo, that's a good analogy.
That is.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it, I think, next episode or whatever episode after. But I just think that that just messes up your whole day. Everything else, you can kind of get a lesson from it. You can look back and say, oh, yeah, this is just a major inconvenience. And it's pointless. There's nothing I'm gaining from this. You're just doing this to be a dick.
Pretty much. I think you made a great point with Christopher, like the learning curve, but I am going to go Christopher here, just because for me it's more of not the commitment thing for Spike, but for me it's more of, okay, you stuck now. Like, the only way out of this is in a box. And that to me is the broken balls right there, because you shouldn't have been here. You had no business being here. And one of the fortunate sons is going to learn that the hard way in this episode. The 3 fortunate sons that I listed, one of them's going to learn the hard way. Like, oh, dang, I shouldn't have did that. Maybe I shouldn't have. Now you're trying to save face, but it's too late. Christopher, now he's having that bad omen with the crow. This is the broken balls. While it looks like a celebratory thing, it's actually like you sealed your fate. And so, to me, hands down, this is the moment for the dark gloom over Christopher Moltisanti. And lastly, before we get out of here, Spike Lee, what is your favorite moment of this episode?
When Svetlana woke up and realized her leg was gone, and
really?
Janice tried, when Janice tried to play it like, I don't know, like maybe if it popped up, the records will pop up. I think that was really funny, and it got to show that side of Janice is just as gruesome as Tony, but going about it in a totally different way. Yeah, that was my favorite part of this episode because it led to so much more too.
I'm surprised you didn't say one, but I'll bring it up after the fact. What about you, Rich?
Probably the scene that you think he was going to say, the Tony meeting with Jackie.
Tony.
That's what I swear I swear that was going to be his, but okay. So
there are a lot of good scenes in this
really
episode.
are.
There really are when you sit down and think about it. But for me, it's going to be that. That's just one of those. Like I said earlier, man, that's one of the moments when if I just want to go on YouTube and look up some of my favorite Sopranos moments, that comes down to it, because that's the Tony Soprano that we get that we're getting in the rest of the series. It's never going to be lower than that. It's either going to be that or a more elevated version. And just the way he handles it, goes about it. There's no doubt if you are an outsider looking in and you walk in that restaurant, there is no doubt who runs things and who's the boss. Ain't no cap in this rap, ain't none of that. Like, I am running all of this. Like, I'm not even irritated by your ignorance. Because I know you can't do anything to me. And it's in your best interest to listen, and I know you're going to listen. I'm not even concerned with the thought of you not even listening to what I'm telling you right now. That's how much of a boss I am. Like, that's just one of my favorite scenes. And like I said, it also showed you are family. You like a nephew to me. But I still got to put your ass in check. And he manipulated the shit out of him, all of it from top to bottom. Classic Tony Soprano. And we're going to get so much more of that throughout the entire series.
That was really good. I was going to say Chris and Eugene being made, but I'm going to go with Tony grilling. I really I like those. Like, I love when they grill. It's so home rooted. It feels like us black people, we known to be like grillers. We love grilling often. And I just like that whole scene. And Tony seemed like, oh, so you came up short, huh? Like that whole thing, you know, Chris having a beer and they're shooting the load. You know what I mean? I like that whole scene. It's not that big of a deal, but that's the type of stuff I like. Y'all already know if y'all have listened to season 1 of this. But this is our episode of Good Earners reviewing The Sopranos. If y'all want to find us, if y'all want to reach out, rather, y'all can go GoodEarnerPod_Sopranos on Instagram, DM us, or just get your meme fix if y'all want to see some funny stuff on there. I got plenty of material there. If y'all want to reach out another way, y'all can hit us up on goodearnerpod@gmail.com. goodearnerpod@gmail.com. This will all be in the description if y'all want to reach out to us. Also, we have a few other shows just in case y'all just want to support us individually. This thing is kind of like the Avengers, but we also have solo movies. Spike Lou, what can they find you if they want to support you elsewhere?
What up, though, man? Check out the OnDeckTV podcast coming to you every Wednesday. Check out the sports show that I do with Dead End on Tuesdays. Also, check out Another Week in the Books that me and Mo do on Fridays, man. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. And Rich, where can they support you at, man?
The Culture Garden Podcast, at the Culture Garden Podcast on Instagram. It's a film podcast, mainly discussing films from the culture, releasing every single Thursday. And then you also have Good Earners Mafia Mondays, excuse me. And Tuesdays we got y'all podcast with Ray P. It's a television podcast. Currently discussing Winning Time on HBO. 2 more weeks of that before we move on to another series. A really good TV show, man. So everybody tap in.
Yes, sir. And lastly, for me, for those that are into fictional podcasts, I have a fictional podcast called Roll, the audio drama series. Wrote it, produced it, acted in it, all that good stuff to make this production come together. Go stream those 3 seasons because the 4th season will be behind a paywall. So y'all go support that now. Leave a comment, all that good stuff. We appreciate y'all tuning in. And remember, don't forget about it.